Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV podcast 564. And dare I say, I know there's usually a lot of talking and rambling, because Johnny never shuts up, but tonight, there's a lot of things going on. And first and foremost, and we're going to get right to her in literally just 30 or 45 seconds here, we're going to have Cadence Burge. But to give you a quick rundown, Cadence Burge. Then we'll talk about some of the other things going on, depending on the timing. We'll talk about some other things going on, including Masters Worlds, including the Hall of Fame, including some positive updates regarding Ben Askren and some other things. And then we're going to also have Matt Roststein, who's running for a PDGA Global Board of Directors position, and he'll be joining us as well. So all of that taking place. A busy night in store already.
A busy night, and there's no pro tour thing going on right now.
And there's no upcoming officially.
There's PCS.
There's travels to Norway, which seeing a lot of beautiful pictures, and I'm having a little bit of FOMO as I watch them all appear over there in Norway and some of those beautiful places that I've been before.
I said the same thing about Masters Worlds. I told my buddy, I'm having a little bit of FOMO not being there with all you guys.
Well, without further ado, someone who's nowhere near eligible for Masters Worlds, maybe
not even
if
you double her age.
Yeah, maybe her dad is, but our champion, our first-time Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series champion of the Discmania Challenge, none other than Cadence Burge. How you doing, Cadence?
I'm good. How are you?
Not nearly as good as you. You have had, I'll just say it, one heck of a month if we go back a few weeks. And my first question would be, how do you feel about the entire disc golf community, podcast, broadcast, and everyone else? How do you feel about them all talking about you and shining a very bright light on what you're doing?
I think it's pretty cool. I'm finally playing the way I want to, and it's gotten a little bit of press attention, which I think is cool. I just hit 10K followers on Instagram, which is awesome. I've always wanted to hit that. So I think it's awesome.
I think 10K is going to be a low bar for you. I believe you probably have another 10K, but that's a great starting point. Is that any sort of bragging rights amongst your friends? Like, do they all think it's cool too? Like the other kids in your around your age bracket, I would say.
I'm not like holding it over their head. I haven't said it to them or anything. None of them have that many, but they all think that what I do in disc golf is pretty cool. So I'm sure that they're happy for me and also think that that's cool. But I wouldn't say I'm like putting it out there.
No, of course not. No, I was just wondering if it was. I recall sitting in a Culver's actually, and I was chatting with my son, and he was asking me about our YouTube channel, and I think at the time we had like 20,000 subscribers, and there was a little kid next to the booth next to us, and he goes, 20,000, and I was like, yeah, this was a couple of years ago, and I just was thinking, I was like, I wonder what where's the status in that for Instagram, for instance, these days, if that's even what you guys are using anymore.
Yeah. Let's get that out of the way since we're already there. We'll get to it right away. What is the most common platform when people want to keep up with what you're doing or follow you as a fan or as a supporter? What are some of the most common ways that you share with the world?
Definitely, I'd say Instagram is the number one platform I use. The only things I ever post on are Instagram and Facebook, but the Facebook posts are literally just my Instagram post, just automatically put onto there, and same thing for the stories kind of automatically get put onto Facebook. Yeah, basically just Instagram.
Yeah, okay, makes perfect sense. And are you one of those types then that will do additional, I don't want to just call them silly because I don't want to limit it to just that, but what types of content are you putting out on Instagram? Is it recaps of your weekends and your days, or is it some of the other crazy life adventures you might be having?
At the moment, It's mostly just kind of disc golf. I post a recap after every tournament, and I post before every tournament to announce like when I'm playing. I post some reels of shots, some of discs, stuff like that. My stories get like more of my life, I'd say, kind of what I'm doing and when I'm doing stuff. But I have been talking to a lot of people about disc golf and content recently, and about growing your brand and about like having your thing, having people watch you. So I feel like I kind of am maybe looking to do more than just what I'm doing right now. But currently that's all it's on.
Yeah, I think I don't say important these days, but obviously everybody thinks social media is a great way to build a brand, help sell discs, help promote yourself as a player. And I think right now the hardest part is finding the right niche. Like there's so many different ways you can.
I agree.
Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can go out there. Whether it's like Holland Hanley and doing, I don't say form reviews, but teaching, or Gannon Burr on YouTube, or practice rounds, or disc reviews. Like there's so many ways that you could find exactly what yours is. Do you have any idea right now as to the area you enjoy doing the most, or anything, any secrets you want to divulge on your future social media?
Just within disc golf or just in general?
Just disc golf, just a way to promote yourself and your brand. And I mean, and obviously it's not just disc golf, because we've seen some other people like Madison Walker and Calvin Heimberg. They promote themselves in different ways, like nature walks and all these other things.
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't really thought about it. I've still kind of been trying to think about what to do. I think more about that honestly before I do anything. I definitely want to promote discs more than I do right now, but um, I want to be able to do stuff in a more way and have more content. Like, I personally I don't find it very interesting to watch someone's practice rounds per se. Like lots of people are doing that, and I mean it's great for everyone that is doing that. There's nothing wrong with it or anything. It's just that I'm not gonna sit here and sit through that. To be honest,
Yeah,
I want
I
to
mean,
find something kind of more like quick. People don't have like long attention spans anymore. So, like I want to have something that's like much faster and will actually keep people's attention.
I mean, that's definitely a way to attack it.
yeah. What are some of the things you do enjoy watching in terms of disc golf content, or do you even consume that much? But if you do, what are some of the things that like interest you?
I consume. I mean, I consume like all the Instagram content, but I don't consume a lot of YouTube. 'Cause again, I don't have a long attention span, so I'm not sitting through. I mean, I watch some people's vlogs. Like I watch like the Alden vlog whenever they come out with that. Um, and those things kind of keep my attention more because I mean, things they do it for a short amount of time and then they move on, and they're funny. So they keep people. I like things that are funny. So like the real people post. Some people have started like they'll take trends from disc golf trends and they'll put that on Instagram. I watch that kind of stuff. And so I feel like I'm leaning more towards like that.
Okay. Okay. Let's back up just a little bit in that, as I said, you had an incredible, obviously weekend, but just this last month, was there anything in particular in the last 30 or 45 or 60 days that has allowed you to really shine and level up? As I know you were getting done with school and such, but is there any one thing that's led to this recent success?
I'm not really sure. I feel like I haven't changed much of what I'm doing. I haven't started practicing a different way, or I mean, really done anything differently. My routines. I feel like I'm playing very similar to how I was doing at Kansas City, which was more than 2 months ago. Um, and I kind of like lost that for a little bit, but I'm not really sure what clicked. Maybe the course is kind of fitting me well, and I guess just having a good mindset throughout it all.
Uh, do, what's been what's been the difference in your results? And what I mean by that is, if you haven't changed much, or you don't feel like you've really changed much, you're now finishing though considerably higher than you were, a few months ago. What do you think has been like? What can we attribute that to? Are you just more consistent? Are you bogeying less? Are you birdieing more? Like, what are you never going OB? You know what I mean? Like, is there anything that we might be able to pinpoint it to, like that's a stat possibly?
So I really like stats, actually. I'm actually I'm gonna do online college and major in statistics. So stats, one of my favorite things. Um, and for me, well, for one, definitely more consistent. I mean, if you look at like my lowest rated rounds this year, I mean, I had like one really bad round at Austin, but other than that, almost every round I've had, I think every round I've had has been above 930, which has, I mean, it was crazy for me as I was literally 945 rated right before the year, so I was shooting less than 930, under 930 rounds. But in terms of like scoring, that consistency has definitely come from strokes from tee to green. Um, my worst stats last year were like circle one, circle two in regulation. So I just wasn't getting into the circle as much as other people were. And I'm not like getting there as much as like maybe Hall and Evelina are now, but it's significantly higher than it was before. And so giving myself a lot more opportunities has led to a lot more scoring.
Was there anything going into the year that you felt gave you more confidence? I told the story before. I got a message from Bo before the season asking some questions about stats related to skip base, drafting.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Sitting right there, I could see him.
I figured as much. He's in our chat board as well. Just asking like how many people drafted Cadence, how many people, how many teams is she on, and things like that. Like asking, well, and I didn't know if that was coming from you or coming from Bo, because it sounded like you were maybe building a chip on your shoulder. Like, no, I can prove these people wrong. Was there anything going into the season that you felt was different this year than in previous years, that you thought you were going to perform better?
I mean, honestly, really no. Like going into the year, I feel like every year I go through similar things where during the off season, well, at least the last 2 years this has happened to me. Going into the winter, I feel like I lost some distance and I kind of like got less confident. And so going into the beginning of the season, I kind of just didn't really know what was going to happen because I wasn't confident in myself. And I mean, the same thing, even going into Florida, which was my first tournament of the year, I had no idea what was going to happen. I wasn't feeling good about my distance. I wasn't feeling good about anything other than my putt, really. But then, I mean, I don't know what happened. I just kind of played that tournament, and it went way better than I expected. I got my first top 10 in, I mean, almost 2 years.
I want to go back, because this is the first time you're on the show. You said something during your interview after your win about how this has made the last 10 years worth it, so to speak. Talk about the last 10 years. I know that's a big question, but like, how did you get your start? Did you ever have any doubts about disc golf? Like all these things. Like, who introduced you to the sport? Was it your dad?
Yeah, it was my dad. My dad's been playing since like 2007-ish, so kind of since I was born, and he kind of just got me into it. I mean, by nature, I mean, I grew up around him, and he was just kind of out throwing discs, so I would pick him up and toss him around. I kind of just got introduced to it that way.
And then, I don't know if it's a fair comparison or not, but when I think about that, and I know that type of story is going to become more and more common with, dads that are into it, then they're getting their sons and daughters into playing. But I think about Paige Pierce specifically and her dad, who played, obviously brought her out to the course all the time. She got eventually hooked on it, and then he continued to push her, and she's obviously gone on to be one of the greatest to ever play. Do you see any similarities? Have you ever talked to Paige in any regard, or do you have other people that you look at and you're like, yeah, I feel like my path has been similar to theirs? Is there anyone else that has been on the same path as you?
I'm not really sure off the top of my head. I've never talked to Paige about it. No, I'm not really sure.
Sure, I guess, and I keep forgetting that you also aren't necessarily in the same circles as a lot of these players week in and week out. You are now, but you probably haven't been nearly as much with going to school and just recently turning 18 and doing the touring that you're doing. When you look back on, let's fast forward 10 years and you look back on the first 20 years. I know you said the last 10 years have been validating, but when you look back on the first 20 years of your career, what are some of the things that you want to be able to write about or be able to think about or verbalize? What are some of those memories or thoughts or goals that come to mind, once you're into it, say 20 years?
Wait, like, what are my goals? Like 20 years, like
No,
what?
like in 10 years when you reflect back. Yeah,
Oh,
let's
in
just
10
say,
years.
yeah, because
What are your
yeah, I'm looking at like you've been on this path for at least 10 years. And it feels like this is a tipping point, right? You just got this win, and you've won some AM events, and you've been really good. Now you're like starting a new chapter. So I'm saying that in 10 years, when you look back at this chapter, what are you hoping to reflect on? What are you hoping to accomplish or do or be able to talk about?
I'm gonna be honest. I did not think about the fact that this has kind of just been the goal forever. And so I had not set any goals past this goal because I was not sure when or if I would ever hit the goal. You know, I had not thought that far.
Okay, so I'll put you on the spot and then say what's the new goal? I mean, you've achieved this major milestone. Now you know it's possible. You did it in very impressive fashion. You've been playing so well lately. Where are you going to reset the bar to? What's next?
Um, I mean, I guess next thing would either be to win like an FPL world title or to be the number one player in the world like for a season, like have like get number one in points or like be number one in PDGA or something like that.
Is there anyone, knowing your history is, a little more than 10 years or whatever it's been, most of your life here, is there anyone that you really have looked at and maybe you're not trying to copy their game, but you've kind of looked to as someone you fangirl or idolize or look up to, whatever you want, however serious it is, I don't know, but is there anyone that you've kind of looked to throughout all these years?
I mean, I feel like it's kind of changed like over time, like who I like and who I want to watch. Like when I was younger, like before I was even like good at all, like when I was this is like 2019-ish maybe. Like I think I really liked looking at watching Paige Shu. He was one of
Mm.
my favorite players. Um, I mean, I feel like the last couple of years, like even before I went on tour, I mean, this is kind of the basic answer that everyone's gonna say, but I mean, Christian Tar is, I mean, the best player in the world and is so consistent, gets top three in almost every tournament she plays, and has won majors and pro tour events, and has just such a good mental game and such a good outlook on life that it's kind of hard not to look up to her as the kind of person that you want to be. I mean, I guess I'd have to say her.
Good answer.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
Well, like Kristen has a pretty solid all-around game. I think one of the things that people look at you and say is she could really use a forehand. Is that something? I know. I'm sorry. Is that something that you're looking at developing, or do you feel like an Isaac Robinson, you need it for emergencies and you can accomplish all your goals with a backhand? Is that something that you're eventually going to try to attack, or would you rather focus in on the things you're already good at and get better?
Um, I am probably never gonna develop a forehand that's like a good forehand, like an Evelina, Kristen, Ella forehand. I'm probably never gonna have. It'd probably definitely be a good idea to have a serviceable one where I can use it when I need to, because right now it is kind of lacking even in like when I have to use it. I mean, like look at Missy. Like Missy has actually developed a pretty solid forehand for when she's a scramble, but you don't see her pulling it out on the tee. Um, I used to have a better one actually a couple years like 2 years ago because I started working on it, but then I kind of just stopped for some reason. I don't even really know why. I just stopped throwing it and I lost it completely. But every time I do it now, I just have no confidence in it, which makes you do it less. And plus, it actually kind of hurts when I do it, and all the injuries you see are from forehands, and I don't want that. I mean, there's very few times where I've like on a hole where I've been like, okay, I literally cannot birdie this hole because I don't have a forehand. Like usually there's some way to make a backhand work. Even if maybe it's not the easiest option, I can still make it work. I mean, my last shot of the tournament at Discmania Challenge was clearly a forehand looking shot. I mean, if Holland was there, she definitely would have thrown a forehand. But I mean, I felt plenty confident in being able to throw that backhand, and I was able to do it. So I don't think I need a forehand.
All right.
Yeah. When you have the skills,
No, it's all right.
You're good.
You're
I was just going to say, when you have the skill sets and you're so confident in what you have for a backhand, and as long as you're not second guessing yourself and you're fully aware of what's going on, I don't think there's anything wrong with completely embracing that. Like you said, having at least a serviceable forehand so that you can use it. And Missy's such a good example of someone who doesn't clearly rely on it, but when she does need it, it feels like it's there. You know, if it's truly the best shot for her. It's hard for us to second guess that decision making. It just feels like the world says, "Hey, you need forehand and you need backhand these days." But
well, as we said. Two-time world champion Isaac Robinson would beg to differ.
Very much so. Yeah, and that one Conrad fella.
Oh yeah, him too.
So right now you're back home in Alabama, in Huntsville. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's where I live. Technically, right now I am not in Huntsville. I'm like 45 minutes away at a league, but yes.
What was it like returning and showing up there, either yesterday and or today? What's that homecoming like, and how did the crowds or the other league goers, how did they welcome you?
Today was the first time I saw people, and everyone has been me. Has been really happy for me. I mean, lots of people here have been watching me play since I was super young. So all of them have seen my progression, and I mean, it feels really great to like know that these people in my hometown, how proud they are of me. And I had multiple people that are here tell me that they watched it live, and that they were just so excited, and that they were brought to tears, and that I mean, it's just awesome.
So Bo's on the board saying that you didn't play League. Did you just show up and do the celebrity thing, or did you actually play tonight, or is he lying to us?
Okay, he's wording it weird. So I didn't play this league because like it's a rated league at like a super like short little course, and I didn't want the rated rounds. Like I didn't want like to just add. I didn't want to shoot like 10 down and then just add like a 940 for no reason. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I didn't play the rated league. I just played with the people playing the rated league. So I still played and threw shots and like kept score kind of. I didn't like get a rated round.
Okay,
well that throw today.
I mean, that's clearly that comes up a really big point. You clearly care about your rating. Like, there's a lot of people that are just like, ratings don't matter. I'm going to shoot what I shoot. The big ones matter. Who cares if I play a B tier and win, but only shoot 950 or whatever that is? Do you care about your rating?
So, I mean, a little bit, because I like seeing the number go up. It just makes me happy to see it go higher, especially now that I'm like almost top 10 highest rated in the world. I'm not there yet, but like I'm getting closer. I'm gonna be honest, I play a lot of random rated league rounds and a lot of random B tiers and C tiers. If you look at my PDGA thing, and versus like the other touring players, there's no touring players. They're just playing random C tiers and B tiers all the time. I feel like every time I'm home, I just like get drawn to them, and I do it anyways. And even when I play good, like my ratings, they all just suck. So this is one of the few times where I was like, you know what? I don't want to demoralize myself today. I just want to have fun. I just want to throw shots and get ready to go to Europe. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I know. I wish there was a fair way to, so to speak, that you could obviously play along or compete without it being rated. Like if you could just say, hey, I don't want, maybe sign up for a whole year at League, just say, hey, my ratings I never want them to count. Because otherwise people can kind of pick and choose like, oh, I don't want this one to count because I shot bad. But this one where I shot 975, I definitely want that one to count.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. But like, this league is the only one that's rated, and I honestly don't usually go to the Tuesday one, I go to one Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But since I had just gotten home, and I didn't play yesterday. I really just wanted to get out and throw, and I wanted to do that in a space where, I mean, my friends were, honestly, so I chose.
Well, let's talk a little. Let's talk a little bit about your future. Your immediate future and maybe your long-term future. The next event is Europe. You're going over to Europe for some events at some point. Obviously not this weekend at PCS.
Yeah.
When is your flight out there, and what events are you playing?
So I am leaving on Monday, and I'm going with my family. So me, my dad, and my grandparents, my sister are all gonna go, and I'm gonna go to Crocal and the two majors. So we're gonna be there for a full month, and I have never been to Europe before, so I am super excited for that.
What made you decide that you would do Des Moines and play in Des Moines, but then not necessarily go to PCS, but you would play Crocal, and then the two majors? Like what? And then I would assume you're coming back right after those, as you just said, as opposed to playing like in Turku the weekend after. But what made you decide exactly which ones you were going to play?
Well, I was always gonna play Discmania because I want to play all the U.S. events I can.
Okay.
I couldn't play the two that were up in the West. Whatever those two, the Northwest Championship and Cascade. I couldn't get to those two because I had other stuff going on. Originally, like over the off, like last year when it got announced that Worlds was in Europe, kind of over the off season, my family wanted me to be able to go and play in Worlds, and so it kind of just decided that since we're gonna go to Worlds anyways, we should go to both the majors. So I was gonna go to um, European Festival, whatever it's called, and Worlds, and that was kind of my plan until the beginning of the year. And my grandparents kind of just told me they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go to Crocal too," and I was like, "Oh, okay, sure, yeah, great. I guess I'll go sign up for that." Cause originally, when I got my tour card, you have to like sign up for all the tournaments before the year starts that you want to play, and so I had to actually not put Crocal on my list, so I had to do it like at the beginning of the season. Originally, I was gonna go to Europe with just my grandparents also, which is kind of part of why this. But in the past couple months or so, my dad said that he was gonna go with me also.
Well, I mean, it's a lot easier probably going with you than driving up or flying over the night before when you're shooting well, as he as he did. I was like, "Hey, Dad, I'm getting on a plane."
Probably.
Yeah, no, I mean, at least he'll already be there as opposed to having to make that trip.
With regard, as you just said, first time over in Europe, but is this going to be the first time out of the country?
Kind of, but also no. When I was like 9 or so, my other grandparents took us to the British Virgin Islands.
Okay.
So they're not USA owned, but they're also like just some random islands. I don't know. It didn't really feel like out of the country
Yeah.
to me.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we were on a boat and we were in the ocean, but like we were technically out of USA property, and I had to get like a passport or whatever. But
Sure.
this
Yeah.
is the first real. I feel like this counts. This definitely counts.
Are you at all a disc golf historian? And the reason I ask that is because Johnny and I, for instance, have been with the PDGA and involved in doing disc golf for more than 30 years. And so this Worlds in Finland is really impactful, especially with all the worlds that we've traveled to and either worked or played. And so it's super impactful, and it is to the whole world. I mean, it's we're not special in that sense. But for someone like you who's been heavily involved in disc golf, does it feel impactful to you in the same way or in a major way, or is this just kind of feel like a really cool trip?
I feel like to me it's probably more of just a really cool trip. I don't think I like have that much knowledge of all the sport. I mean, I haven't been super involved. I mean, I've been super involved in the sport itself, but I think I haven't really looked into its past as much as I probably should have. So this does just kind of feel like a chance to have a vacation. And I mean, maybe even to some people it might be even like an inconvenience because now Worlds is a whole ocean away from them and they can't even go. Especially since I feel like a lot of the sport, I mean, the Pro Tour side at least, is very in the USA. So now they're like kind of taking away some of these events and then putting them over there. Might rub some people the wrong way. I think it's good to like be all over the world, honestly. I don't think it should just be in one country or one place.
It was interesting and funny you say that, because I think one of the biggest statements made during the U.S. women's press conference was when I was talking to Haley King, and she seemed with one of her answers that I think she said something or other like, we're not ready to be over there yet, or something like that, which just kind of gave me the impression that she doesn't feel like the pro disc golf scene, which, like you said, is very centralized in the U.S., just isn't ready. And I don't know exactly what she meant on that. I should have asked her to maybe explain a little bit more. But I thought that was one of the most interesting statements I heard in the entire press conference. But you yourself, you know how big and serious they take it in Finland, right?
Yeah. I was just talking to someone actually at this league about, like, if you look at the UDisc of like force per capita at Finland, it's crazy compared to here. It's insane.
Yeah, it definitely. I think it ranks higher than anywhere else. Let's get into that. It's funny you say per capita, and I know that's just one minor statistic, but you said earlier that stats were something of interest to you. What, outside of your own personal playing stats, what are some of the things that you would find the world of statistics applicable in disc golf? Where do you see a crossover? What might excite you about stats and just the sport of disc golf?
I have like no idea off the top of my head. Not gonna lie.
Okay. Because I think of like Statmando is a great example. We didn't have Statmando 5 years ago. Like, it's a bunch of really smart guys who we happen to know, and they were thinking about just questions they get asked all the time. And then that led to, okay, well, let's start like running queries and making a database. And then they basically said, hey, we've got a bunch of really interesting stuff. This could help the broadcast. Every other major broadcast has all these insane stats. Yeah. Like, the last time we saw two brand new champions, two first-time winners, was the national tour in 2011, and it was Sarah Hokum along with Devin Owens. Like, that would have taken days to research.
Like that.
Yeah, days to research by hand. Or, just by digging around, but Statmando could like whip that up in 10 seconds of doing a query. So that's where I think like it's insane how much we can truly embrace the stats. So do you look at ever like Statmando or UDisc or the PDGA? Is there any of those that are like a resource for you?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm on Statmando a lot, especially with I obviously with the player stats a lot, like the putting and the tee to green and just all the different stats that that's have. But I like all the random stuff they have too. I don't know why I can't think of like anything off the top of my head right now. But it was yesterday on the way home. I was searching for the I can't even think of how to word it right now. The rankings that show like the tournament difficulty, or like not difficulty.
Strength of field.
Strength of field, yes, that.
Sure.
And I could not find it. I don't know why I could not find it. I was looking forever. I went through like every stat thing on Statman, and I couldn't find it. I was trying to see if Discmania challenge was the easiest tour so far.
You're worried that you won the easiest event? I would not worry. First of all, I would not worry about that. Any win on the Pro Tour is a valid win, regardless of who's there, because you beat more of the top 10 that was there that wasn't. So
maybe, but like a lot of people are like, oh, well, Christian, Henna, and Evelina, and Missy, all of them weren't there. If all your top 5 players weren't there, then
Well, I just found it for you.
Oh my God.
I am here, and real quick, let me see if it currently. Do you want to take a guess? Let's just say right now, and this I think has all Elite Series.
Is that just from this year?
But you can't count don't count the Europe ones though. The Europe ones don't count.
Okay, so I can search by just by country, I believe. I don't know if I can. Oh, but yeah, by country, I don't want to say all. I'm just going to say U.S. I've done it by United States. This I see U.S. women's in here. And so, yeah, I can do it basically by all the Pro Tour events. Yes. It looks like I've got a couple different things in here. Yeah, it has all the A tiers, which we're not going to concern ourselves with. So just all of the majors, which has only been the one, the major and the Pro Tours. Do you want to guess? I'll give you a hint. There is 11 of them that it's pulling from so far this year between majors and Pro Tours. Do you want to guess where yours ranks?
And this is like just FPO. This is not.
Yeah,
FPO,
this is just FPO. And I think I'm looking at strength of field, showing entries. Yes, event field strength rankings. What event has the strongest field ever according to Statmando filter? Blah 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 blah. Yes. Okay. So go ahead and take a guess. Out of 11 events, where do you think this one ranks?
I don't understand how this could possibly be above any of them. I mean,
you'd be right. You'd be right. Out of the 11, this ranks as the 11th, easiest, so to speak. I guess I'll use that in air quotes. So the strength of field. So, but for what it's worth, you also just finished second at the most difficult one of the year, which was the U.S. Women's. So that's got to feel good.
But does it really count? Does it really count if it's the easiest one?
It does. Still counts. It still counts. I don't care what you say.
Here's the deal. You beat. Here's the line I've been using for a couple decades. You beat everyone that showed up, and that's all you can do. It is not your fault who's there. It's not your fault who's not there. You beat every competitor in your field that showed up and played in the event. And yes, were there a few top names that weren't there? Yeah, there were. Of course there were. Missy and then Evelina and Kristen and Henna and a couple of those top players. Yes, you're absolutely right. But you can't control that. Somebody has to win. It might as well be you.
And I think a better statistic to look at rather than strength of field is average rating, that shot to win. Like now, if for whatever reason you won, and I know this probably wouldn't happen in FPO anymore, with a 980, that's different than winning with 1,015. I would personally look at that statistic more so than the depth of field or the strength of field, but I don't know. I don't also have a pro tour.
If you're looking at it that way, at Kansas City, I averaged like 10-15, I think, or 10, something around that. And it was the highest ever rating for a loss. Mm-hmm. Nobody else had ever shot that good in an FPO tournament and lost. And I lost that tournament, which I'm sure that Kansas City is probably the second lowest on the list.
It's eighth. It's eighth. Now it also technically does rate higher though than the Konopiste and the Ale Open. So
that doesn't count. Those don't count.
And the European Disc Golf Championship. Wow, that's crazy.
But she said they're European.
I know. I'm just reading them off for you.
None of that. None of those.
None of those. All right. Let's talk a little bit about statistics, and I want to talk more so about what you said earlier in our conversation about going to school for statistics. What does next year look like for you? Like, you said you're doing an online college, so is your plan a full pro tour season with college as like night classes or online classes? Like, how does 2026 look for Cadence?
So I am planning the full tour and do college because I want to be able to get a degree just, as a backup thing. I do honestly want to hopefully, never use it if that's an option, but I think it's a smart thing to have. Mm-hmm. So currently I'm going to Arizona State online. That's my plan right now. I'm doing statistics, and I'm supposed to start this coming fall, actually. I think the start date is like August 24th or something. So literally right after I come back from Europe, I'm going to be starting. I think it's like during Whetstone, it's the first week or something, or I'm not really sure. But the classes, I haven't received that much information on them, but I'm pretty sure they're all online. Oh, I know they are all online. But I don't think there's like, I have to be on the Zoom class at 8 a.m. or I have to be able to attend this at a certain time. I don't think it's any of that. I think it's all kind of like you have this due date for your work, be done by the semester, and have your grades. I I just did online high school for my last year, and if I had to guess, it's probably going to be pretty similar to that. So that's what I've been doing all of this year while full touring. So I don't think my schedule is going to look too different or anything. Probably the same thing. Hopefully I can go out west this time though. I won't have to like be in person at school to graduate or take exams and stuff, which is why I couldn't go this time. So hopefully it actually opens up my schedule more than I was this year, if anything. Um,
So, what does touring look like for you next year? Like, are you touring by yourself? Are you is Bo going to be your chauffeur? Like, what's it look like for Cadence next year?
um, so hopefully it's the same. I mean, it's been this year. Bo's gone to every tournament with me, but Champions Cup. He has it's like a 4 card, so he's can get into this turn. He's playing these tournaments also. And so yeah, I mean, we're not living in a van or anything. We travel hotels, Airbnbs, that kind of thing. Sometimes we split with our friends if they're staying. Um, I play a lot of A tiers in between, so I mean, I don't have like a bunch of off weeks. I play a lot of tournaments, go a lot of places. My friend Shelby, who played this past week at Mania, that was her second ever Pro Tour event. I know that she's looking to get into more events, so hopefully that she'll be able to travel with me some more, and I can give her more opportunities to play stuff because I love that I'm able to take her places and give her the opportunity to do that kind of stuff. I didn't really have. I mean, that's kind of what I did with Bo, and my dad was able to take me some places also. So that's kind of what it's looking like. You know?
Do you ever get frustrated at Bo because he needs to shoot better so he can caddy for you more? Like, when you start so early, that's really wrecking your round.
Awkward.
I mean,
he's listening to this, and he's listening right now in his
I know
car,
he
and I'm
is.
sure he's very offended. He's very offended that you're saying.
No, he's
I don't
not.
even do
I know Bo well enough. He's not that offended. He would say it himself.
I know. I know he wishes he was doing better sometimes, but no, honestly, okay, not, he knows this now, but not to offend him. I do better when he does not caddy sometimes. Um, I just get to a point like where sometimes he just frustrates me the same, and I mean we frustrate each other. I think sometimes on the bag. Um, and I mean honestly, I've had a lot of different caddies this year. I have some lined up for future events too. Um, I don't do terrible by myself. I think I do better by myself than I do with him, honestly.
What?
I
Maybe.
do wish.
Go ahead. Finish. Go ahead. Yep.
Sorry, I'll say. No, I do want him to do better, but not caddy for me, just to see him do good because I want to see my friend do good.
With that being said, what two-part question. One would be, how did Robbie C have the job this weekend? But then the second part to that is, what do you look for in a good caddy? What makes a good caddy for you personally? So how was it Robbie C this weekend, and then what makes for a good caddy?
So obviously this weekend was kind of a last minute addition thing. I actually had a different caddy lined up who asked me through Instagram, and I told him I let him know. And the week before, when we were I guess after Wisconsin, we were kind of about to head up there or down there. I was playing a practice round with somebody else. I was actually playing to play practice round with it was like Haley Huber and Rebecca and Shelby. And so Bo had to find something else to do, and he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna play practice round with Robbie because he's gonna be up there for the Creators Cup thing. Because we're friends with him. We've known him for several years. Um, and I was like, oh, he's gonna be up there all week. Does he want to maybe caddy for someone? He's like, oh yeah, I'll ask him for you. So I mean, Bo asked him for me, and Robbie was like, yeah, I'm down. Robbie caddied for me first round at MCO. So this wasn't the first time on the bag. And I mean, I was excited. Robbie obviously has super good vibes. If you know the guy, he is super hype and he's super supportive. Um, and I'll say he was able to be a lot of what I was looking for in a caddy for the other question. Um, one thing I appreciate about him, but I even told him this, was that I appreciated how he was able to kind of tone down his overexcitementness that he usually gets and his overhypeness to kind of match me. Because I mean, if you watch coverage, I am not someone who's like getting super. I don't get super high. I'm not getting super excited over the good kind of shots where maybe he would. So he was able to kind of rein that in. I'm not really looking for someone who is like super high energy, super over the top. Um, I also like am not really looking for like shot advice. Like I saw a lot of people like kind of like think it's Robbie's fault that I went for it on 14. Robbie gave me zero disc advice this weekend. There,
Okay.
literally zero. I do not want the advice that he gives. I think there's some caddies where if they know me slightly well, maybe they can have like some input. But it's more true like just the advice, specifically on eight my AirPods. On 18, he was like, or I was kind of like doubting my choice of disc. He was like, just do what you've been doing. You've been throwing the shot well. We can don't change what you're doing. That's the kind of thing I need. And I also another thing that I have gotten mad at some of my family members for doing is like just super positive. I cannot handle super positive. Like when
Wow.
I feel
Okay.
something bad, I'm kind of getting frustrated. I don't want to hear, "Oh, there's so much golf left. Oh, you've got this. Oh, you're so
Sure.
good at this." Like no, no, stop. Please just no. I don't need the comments. I need just calm, mellow.
Okay.
I before we let you go, because we're running close to our time here. I guess I'm going to ask a little bit about that as far as your demeanor on the course. That final round, you obviously Holland was making a run at you, and at one point you looked pretty down. Like, were you doubting yourself? Was it more so the whole situation with your dad coming and all this other things? Like, and how did you pull yourself out of that? Can you learn from that experience that maybe it's, I mean, clearly you never gave up, but we have seen you on the course where you can tell you're frustrated. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of highs, but I do get lower, and I'm a very like emotional person. And so like my reaction, instead of getting like super mad, I tend to get super sad and down on myself, which is what happened in the last rounds. I feel like I was pretty calm, or I was able to stay pretty calm for the first half and most part of the round until I kind of like got to that point where I three putted and then took more bogeys and then finally got like caught and lost the lead. Um, I wouldn't say that is anything to do with my dad, although like when in that moment, after I lost the lead like that, I'm kind of just thinking like I was already thinking this last night before. I mean, like a nightmare situation would be to lose this four-stroke lead to somebody and have my dad and grandpa drive all the way from Alabama for literally nothing, just for me to lose this lead. And so that, I mean, like, it's kind of running through my head in these moments. It's like, I'm just gonna feel so bad, and like, I'm gonna have to apologize to them. I mean, I don't have to, but like, I would have apologized to them so badly for wasting all their time for going down here. Um, I mean, I think part of getting out of it, I mean, partly with the caddy, Robbie was able to kind of like try to keep my head in it. But at the same time, I think a lot of what he was saying was kind of just going over my head, and I wasn't even listening because I was so focused on how bad I was doing. Honestly, part of getting out of it was probably slightly luck because I birdied 15. I think that was able to kind of rein it back in a little bit. Which, I mean, honestly, the two shots I threw to birdie, it didn't feel great, but I was able to capitalize on the putt that I gave myself. And I think if I hadn't have made that putt, I might not have been able to bring myself back out of it. So it partially was just the fact that I was able to get a birdie and kind of be like, okay, you're really not out of this. You're only one stroke back, and you're going into holes. I mean, Robbie was telling me that I'm good at these holes. I played 17 and 18, I mean, pretty well the last 2 days, so there's no reason to feel like I'm out of this right
When you, well, first of all, let's start with the very obvious, which is it's sweet and noble of you to be concerned about letting your dad and your grandpa down.
As two dads, we can tell you
they're not. They're really not. It's not for nothing,
I know.
right? You know that. I don't think you want to paint your picture as a dad that's gonna slap you across the face.
I'm not saying he would have actually been. He wouldn't have been sad. I know.
Of course.
I mean, I even told them this. Like, they know this. And I know they told me they wouldn't have been disappointed. I mean, I know they would have been sad to see me lose. And I think it would have just been more disappointment in myself. I mean, I
Of
think a
course.
four-stroke lead was worse than a one-stroke lead because a four-stroke lead is
Yes.
almost like I have to win or I'm embarrassing myself. Like if I had lost a four-stroke lead, I would have just felt so dejected and embarrassed. And like I know that looking at all the podcasts and the comments, they all would have been talking about how I like lost this time. I would have just been so embarrassed. Like
Well,
I'm not even
I
even think
understand
about it
that.
right now.
Yeah, that's definitely competitive of you, and it is understandable. And to be fair, those are comments that we as broadcasters have to say. Like, this is Cadence's
Yeah,
event to
yeah.
lose. Like that's because you worked so hard and you played so good that we didn't see any other way. Unless there was something major, we didn't see a way that you weren't gonna pull it out. Just because your consistency and your play lately has been so damn good. With that, is there anything, now that we're a little more than 48 hours since you've won and you had a long drive and travels, is there anything you've gone back and either listened to or watched or relived in the live feed or in the post-production feeds on anywhere? Is there anything you've gone back to like see, well, yeah, what did happen here? Or what did they say here? Or what didn't they say here? Is there anything that you've looked at?
Oh yeah, I consume so much media. I have
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
watched everything possible. I have read every comment on every post, on
Dang, you're
every Reddit
brave.
post. I know, I know. I've consumed so much media. I mean,
And
right after, and right after, like right after both finished this round, we went back to the hotel, and well, actually, we went to got food first, I think. But then we came back and we watched the entirety of my rounds. Maybe it was before, I don't really remember. We watched the entirety of my rounds from start to finish on live coverage. So I could hear everything the commentators said and everything that happened, and so I could see all the camera footage.
uh-huh.
I mean, I didn't watch all of Jomez, but I watched the ending just because I wanted to hear what they were saying, and I wanted to see just like the clips at the end. And I watched them Gomez me dropping my trophy. It's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a podcast yesterday, and I listened to that. I listened to this Foundations podcast. What else? I watched a YouTube recap of it that someone posted. I listened to part of the Jomez podcast. I read every comment on every Facebook post. I went through both Reddit chains with about me. I read every comment on that. I went to the Twitter threads. I read every comment on that.
So what was right and
I
what was
watched more
wrong?
stuff. I can't think of
Like,
it.
yeah, what parts of it were they spot on, and what parts of it and or people like myself were dead wrong? Like, is there anything you want to clarify or put out there or adjust or make sure the world knows, right or wrong?
I don't know why I can't think of anything off the top of my head really. But the one thing that was funny because right after my round, I'm like signing stuff, and Robbie is like, you'll be happy to know that all of Reddit and YouTube are blaming him for my mistakes. All the
Mm,
bad things I did, they weren't my fault. They were Robbie's fault because he wasn't being a good, which I thought was hilarious. That
wow.
everybody thinks that Robbie's the base of my decision. Robbie's why I was crying. Robbie was making me cry. Not anything else. It was all him. I find that hilarious. And so did he, because obviously, I mean, that's not the case. Robbie was not making me cry. Like, that's what? No, like he did not do anything to do that, and he had nothing to do with my decision on 14.
Okay.
Honestly, if he had said anything about what I was doing, that would have just made me doubt it more. So I don't even. I mean, that was all me. He didn't do anything with any choice at all. Um, but yeah, I don't know. But then the YouTube comments actually liked him. The YouTube comments said that I had Robbie to thank actually, and
Okay.
that he was actually an amazing caddy, and that he kept my head in it. So I mean,
It
I guess
just
people want to explain
And
I,
YouTube is his playground.
Well,
So
I'll just say
that. Yeah.
what it
Well,
also
that's true. That's
shows
true.
is nobody knows what the F they're really talking about, right? Like,
no.
because you can read one thing and then literally the next comment is the exact opposite, and neither of them
Yeah,
really know what
yeah.
they're truly talking
Everyone's
about.
everyone's projecting.
Yeah. So be totally blunt. Did I say anything that was incorrect? I did a couple of things before the round, a couple of things after and during. They checked in with me. Was I off the mark on anything? You can be blunt and honest with me.
Oh, I can't remember. The only thing I can remember you talking about right now is my dad driving up there.
Okay.
I don't know why I can't recall anything else you talked about I mean, he did do that. So.
Well, then I didn't say anything too dumb or inaccurate. If you can't even remember.
Well, not about her.
Yeah,
about you.
Yeah, not about me. Not about me, at least. That I can think of.
Okay, well, feel free if there's something that comes up later.
You know.
And you're like, hey, by the way, dum-dum, this was totally wrong. I genuinely would love to know because obviously I want to get our reporting and our check-ins and everything else as accurate as possible when we're doing it. We're going to let you go here in a minute. We're going to first have you thank your sponsors, but I do want to show off that one of the giveaways tonight, this looks like a disc that you signed. There's your signature, along with the other champ in Ezra. And then depending on how our giveaways go, I've got another one that you and Ezra both signed. So this is a disc. That's a Discmania Spore, and this is a Glow Swirl S-Line MD1. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that some of these are going to be going to some incredible fans and supporters of ours, and I wanted to appreciate and thank you for signing those.
You don't sign that chainsaw?
No.
That's
No, but maybe I should start doing that.
I mean,
incorporate that in there.
There you go. Do you like the nickname? Is it okay with you? I know your dad obviously gave it to you. We know the story, but you embrace it?
My dad did not give it to me, but yes. I embrace it, but my dad did not give it to me.
League people did?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yes, League people, yes.
Okay. Cadence, obviously, as I said, we've been talking about you in the highest regard for quite some time this year. I remember, I go all the way back to, I was in the booth for an event. I don't remember which one it was, but we were calling an event live, and we were getting updates from AM Worlds, from the PDGA, and then I would then blurt it out during the live broadcast, if it was Idlewild or Preserve, I don't remember, back in 2022. And I remember texting Dana Vici, because he was the Discmania, team person, and I remember texting him and saying, "Is it like Burge, like Surge, or like Berg, or like?" I remember having to ask him how to pronounce your name because I wanted to get it right for when you were crowned AM World Champ, and it's been awesome to watch all of this growth and success that you've had, and thank you so much for taking the time. Before we let you go, please, anything, the floor is yours. So if there's anything you want to say, and then maybe in addition, you can thank any supporters or sponsors and how people can support you.
Okay, I will thank people. But also I do want to say about you being in the booth that time. I do have a very nice memory of after I won the Pro Tour, posted, it was like Paige and Missy and Ella and a couple of other people. And they posted videos of them saying congratulations to me, for winning Emeralds. And I have never met these people before. This is before I knew any of them. It was after I watched them all the time, obviously, on live coverage. I consume a lot of disc golf. But these people didn't know who I was, and I had never met them before. So seeing them say my name, acknowledge that I won, was super cool for me. And I'm sure you probably saw it because you were in the booth, whether you remember or not. But it happened. That's super cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll think on my. Yeah, thank you to everyone who sent me so many messages and all the congratulations. I've had so many people come up to me. Here when I was there, I signed so many discs. And it was really cool to see all the people that are supporting me. And thank you to my sponsors, Discmania, Monkey Grip Guys, Birdie Bags, and Disrespect. And also, I guess, the Yuli Foundation, if they kind of just announced it tonight on their page there. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you to all of them.
Yeah, I was gonna get that plug in there. I saw it as I was driving here that you've been recognized with the Yuli Foundation, and they're gonna help support part of your collegiate journey. There is that what was posted just tonight and announced, right?
Yeah, I haven't signed stuff yet, but I've been talking to the people that work with the Yuli Foundation and Scorpion Disc Golf and Link Lab for the last couple months now, and they decided that they were going to announce it tonight. I don't know why today they chose, but yeah, I'm working with them, and I think that's super cool, and I'm really looking forward to being able to work with them. I'm excited for the things that they're going to do.
Well, rightfully deserved. Congratulations on that. Congratulations truly on everything that you've been doing and all the successes and the climbs that you've had and the experiences. it's been an honor and truly a pleasure to watch, especially these last 3 weekends when you've really been hitting it that much harder, and I've been able to be part of the broadcast to talk about you and see all these successes that you're having, and not as many people know, but talking to your dad back when I got to go to the Dynamic Disc Open was also very cool. You weren't there, but him and I had got to share some moments together, and I'm super grateful for that, and just really excited to see what you can do with the rest of your disc golf career. So congratulations one more time, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, of course. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, of course. Thanks a lot, Cadence.
All right. Take care. Be safe. And I'll see you over at I'll see you in Estonia. So good luck when you play in Norway, and then I'll see you in Estonia.
Thank you. See you there.
All right. Bye.
Thanks.
Cadence Burge, everyone.
The first of, I'm going to guess, many guest stops on SmashBoxx TV Tuesday nights.
Living her best life and doing some work out there. And I don't know if many people are having a much. We've obviously had a few weeks where Silva Saarinen has been all the talk, rightfully so, with the successes she's had. And to see now Cadence step in and have some pretty incredible performances, getting that runner up at the at the major at the U.S. Women's, taking 6th at the weekend before at the Preserve, is it 6th? And then coming, no, Haley King took 6th. I think she took better than that. But then taking down at the Discmania Challenge, even that much better. So
I just think it's hilarious that, talking about statistics, she was quote unquote concerned that this was the lightest strength of field. Like,
well, because there's jerks on the internet that also like want to go right to that.
No, I
So
get,
even if she's not thinking it, somebody else is saying
I
it.
totally get that. It's just really funny that's a concern. Like, you won a pro tour. Maybe you can write it off as, you know what? Yes, this was the weakest field of a pro tour event this year, but this is my first one, and now I'm going to get the next one. It's just so funny that is a concern at all, because you and I are ecstatic if we win C tiers at this point, you know.
Well, that can be one more goal for her to try to get to next time is an even stronger field. But at the end of the day, not only do you have to beat everyone that showed up and played, one event is going to be the least power ranked of the year too. Those are just all the numbers. And like I said, if she wants to get nitpicky, well, then she'll go out and win another one, and
I don't doubt that,
and just stack on top of that, which is awesome. So. Thank you one final time to Cadence, and honestly, thank you again to her dad. It was great to be able to talk to him, not just at the DDO or the Dynamic Disc Open or Glass Blown Open. I keep calling it now. Now I'm calling it the opposite.
You don't get to take dollars back out of the jar.
Yeah, it was a Glass Blown Open this weekend. But anyway, when he arrived, I think one thing I didn't fully convey. He arrived, he told me how it was the putt on hole 3 that she made in round 2. That's when they started packing up to leave to make the 13-hour drive. Wow. And he told me about not really telling her. I said, when did she officially know that you were here or coming? She's like, he said to me, like 5 minutes ago. I was like, dang, like that is incredible. And she was suspect of what was going on, understandably. You can't leave a kid unread. That is... You heard the crowd gasp.
I know. I heard that as well.
Because you can't do that. You don't leave someone unread in this day and age. But Dad did what Dad
I do it to you all
did.
the time.
Yeah. So congratulations. All right. With that, we're going to shift gears significantly. Go from the big, huge, career-changing win to something different. Someone else looking for a win. He's looking for a win of your vote for the PDGA Global Board of Directors. And with that, we're going to welcome in Matthew Roststein. Hey, Matt.
Terry, JVD, Terry, how are you guys?
We're doing well. I mean, we just got to chat with Cadence for almost an hour and get to learn a little bit more about her and the journey she's on. And it's always fun when we get the really young ones on here to kind of just to make me feel that much older, honestly. Just to realize I wasted my youth.
But it was awesome to see Cadence take it down this weekend. I was there in Indiana a couple years ago when she won that
Hmm.
AM Worlds, and that was pretty awesome to see. And I just loved seeing the progression, of players who come in that amateur, junior level, win a big event, get that experience, and then step it up. It's just neat to see the kind of that pipeline of the next generation of stars kind of in action.
Yeah, and you really think about how she's quote unquote just like doing it right, like you just said. Like you're learning, you're coming up through the ranks, you're winning, you're learning how to win, then getting old enough to really get out on the tour, and then as you probably remember, the next two of the next closest competitors to her at that Worlds, I feel like she won it in the last hole or two.
Yeah, it was really
she
close.
beat out the Linz twins
Because we were talking about how the Linz twins, which one was going to win, which one was going to win, and then Cadence kind of just marched on to the finals.
Yeah, crazy. So
That's
well,
right. Another funny story from that round. One of the Linz twins, I can't remember which one, threw a drive, and I was kind of hanging out next to the basket down by a little lake. And that drive, she kind of hooked it, and I had to duck, and I think it knocked the cameraman over. That was a moment.
R.I.P. Paul. Yeah, that was my buddy Paul.
That's right.
Yeah,
Shout out to Paul. That's
yeah,
right.
Paul and Dustin were out there doing the filming, I believe, and she clipped Paul in the process. It was a bad throw on her part. So, but
It was a bad throw. It was kind of the beginning of the end. That was when Cadence made her push. So
exactly. So, well, Matt, as we were just talking, you were there, and you were there because you have been employed by the PDGA. And now you're looking for a totally different title, path, and everything else. So let's just start from the top and introduce yourself, and let's get to know you for those who may not.
yeah, appreciate it. I was the PDGA media manager for 5 years between 2020 2024. Did a lot of work producing content for the PDGA and really growing that kind of amateur, master, junior, major coverage program that we've got going on there. And that involved Terry and a lot of the other media producers, Gatekeeper, worked a lot with Ace Run. When I came into the PDGA in 2020, our media presence was a lot bigger because Disc Golf Network was not established yet. That deal was not signed until 2021. So when I came in, my focus was initially on the national tour, going on the road and producing that coverage. And then pretty quickly into my tenure, we really had to shift gears because the PDGA made the deal with the Pro Tour. All of the pro coverage basically went to DGN, and so we really had to shift our focus to putting our resources into juniors, masters, amateurs, and that turned into a great thing. It really showed me kind of the appropriate role for the PDGA, which is to step in and kind of do the work that nobody else in the kind of private market, the private industry is willing to do. That's the government's role. So once we had a good company like DGN, like Jomez, and all these big dogs coming in to cover the pros, we could really focus on lifting up the other parts of the sport that weren't getting enough kind of coverage on their own. And that's really kind of a model that I see the PDGA operating with, not just in media, but in scoring, in event production, and a lot of the other aspects of the organization.
And I'll follow up on that. Like, even to this day, it feels as if there's never enough coverage per the masses. I personally know some of the background, as do you, in terms of the sheer logistics and the reality of some of that. But literally just today, I saw someone complaining that they weren't getting enough of the Masters Worlds coverage. And to know that we have, I'm going to guess, 15 to 20 pro divisions, another 15 to 20 AM divisions, all that are 40 plus. Maybe it's not that many, whatever it is, though. We have all these divisions. How would you, whether you're on the board or as a media manager, how in the world do you legitimately address and or prioritize those types of demands or requests?
It's one of the toughest jobs in the PDGA because, like you said, it's not straightforward like it is at a pro tour event where you have two divisions and that's all you're covering. We do have to make some tough choices and some trade-offs. I know that especially when we're partnering with other media companies like yourself or Gatekeeper, we really have to keep in mind reach and choosing cards and divisions that are going to perform well. and get a lot of eyeballs. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we are investing in divisions that don't necessarily attract a ton of viewership. So investing in the older Masters divisions, for instance, kind of gives older players who are watching coverage, something to aspire to give them role models and to motivate them to want to come and play a major tournament. It's a great billboard for not just the top tier of the sport, but also the other major championships that the PDGA puts on that really cater to these other divisions, trying to bring older players out, trying to bring younger players out, just trying to bring out different players.
Yeah, it's so tough because we could all sit here and you could name a division, any division, pro or am, from the age 8 to 88, and I could probably give you a semi-compelling argument as to why we could or should cover something from that division. And then somebody else could give you one for every other division, and next thing you know, we've got 40 divisions that everyone feels like should be covered, but the
resources are not there.
Yeah. It's just simply not always practical. So, and I don't mean to just sound like this is I'm a wet blanket and saying, hey, everybody, you're not going to get what you want, but there's a lot of realities, probably more than most realize.
It's a long-term investment, and nobody knows that better than yourself. You've been doing this a long time and investing a lot of your coverage in divisions that weren't already getting covered. So that's a huge service to the sport, and I think we see some of the fruits of those efforts. This weekend you're heading out to Masters Worlds, I understand, to do live coverage with DGN.
Yeah. Tomorrow I fly out to Bend, and I'll be in the booth where we're covering the last 3 rounds of Masters Worlds.
Right. Yeah. So that's huge. That's a big development for our non-FPO MPO majors to get live coverage on DGN. So 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was only sporadic coverage of these events. We might get post-produced coverage of the last couple rounds or one division. Terry would be out there, trying to one-man, or maybe his JVD and Terry trying to 2-man live coverage for one of these events. So to see the whole DGN team out there doing Masters Worlds is, I think it's a big benchmark.
All right. Thank you. And I agree. And everybody will keep striving. And I'll make a plug for literally every content creator in the sense that things like the simple stuff, like sharing and subscribing. And then if you really want to get crazy, the membership on YouTube or a Patreon, those go so much farther than most people will ever realize. Further in that case, will ever realize. So if you want to see more of it, that's some of the ways you can support. Well, let's get to the nuts and bolts of the idea that you're running, first of all, for the PDGA Board of Directors, Global Board of Directors. And you, I think, almost more than anyone else, you have a very specific and pointed platform that you're running with. And why don't you go ahead and share that? I don't want to muck it up. Why don't you share it from the top?
To be honest, I'm kind of surprised that more candidates don't come in with a more specific proposal, because it's a lot of work to run for the board. It's a lot of work to serve on the board. And I have a hard time imagining just kind of wanting to be on the board to have to have a say on certain issues, but not really have a clear idea of what I wanted. For me, it was the reforms and the changes that I wanted to see that motivated me to run in the first place. I wasn't planning on running for the board when I left the PDGA a year ago, but as an employee, somebody who was trying to work within the bureaucracy, within the PDGA's organization to get things done, I and a lot of my colleagues, were often frustrated just by the way things were set up, by the difficulty in making progress on some of the projects that we wanted to work on. And I think this is a pretty common experience for employees within a government or within a bureaucracy, that the machine is kind of overwhelming and you see a lot of this red tape, things that kind of get in the way of progress. So having been in that situation, seen a lot of these kind of roadblocks that PDGA staff members and volunteers face, really motivated me to want to come in and help remove some of those roadblocks, help us get to the next level.
So I have just posted it in the chat, and I know it's out there. It's also on the YouTube video that you and I did, and I know you've posted in other places, but you've officially put together a members' bill of rights that your, like I said, is the main focus of your platform. What are some of those highlights? What are the things that you really want anyone listening and potentially to vote for you? What are some of those things that you really want them to know?
I think top of the list is transparency. I really feel like members need a better view into the workings of the PDGA. If for no other reason than at the end of the day, the voting rights rest with the members. The members are the ones voting in the PDGA board members who are in turn the ones making these big decisions. And so if the members don't see what discussions are taking place, if the members don't know how those representatives, how those board members are, are weighing in on certain issues, how they're influencing certain issues, it's hard for me to understand how a voter could really make an informed choice, to make a smart choice to push the PDGA in the direction they want to see it. A lot of times when you get a slate of candidates, they're all really strong candidates. They all have a certain focus. Maybe one wants international growth, maybe one wants more inclusivity. But I think a lot of times it's just a matter of of emphasis. This person wants a little bit more focus here. This one person wants more focus here. The transparency issue is a little bit less clear. Not all of the candidates that I'm running with support this idea of opening up the board to the view of the members. And so I think it's important that voters know not just kind of where the candidates are aligned, but also where the differences are, because really at the end of the day, this isn't a personality contest. This is about making a decision on where we would like to see the PDGA go. So I'm trying to be, as clear and open about my objectives, what I want to achieve. And I also think the board should operate the same way. They should open up their meetings to as much of an extent as possible. Obviously, there's limitations there. There's executive sessions; those are reserved for sensitive conversations, personnel conversations. But I think the rule should be to keep the meetings open unless they absolutely have to close it for a certain reason. Not everyone's going to want to sit and watch, 2, 3, 4 hour PDGA board meetings. This is going to be, a very small subset of the most interested, most highly engaged members that would tune in for that. But within that subset, you have, our most highly engaged members, the ones who care the most, the ones who, are willing to roll up their sleeves and sink hours into this. So why not let them understand what's going on in these discussions and contribute to them if they have something to say?
Let's C-SPAN this thing.
Yeah, exactly. This is SmashBox it. Well, let me, because I have been somewhat involved in a tangential way here. We have the PDGA Summit meetings, which usually take place twice a year. Oftentimes there's been a spring summit and then later a fall summit. And I feel like about half the time, roughly, those have been relatively open or open in that members, if you're in that area, you're welcome to attend for the most part. I think those are an insanely appropriate and great time for membership to show up or be involved or be able to peek in to listen, to watch, to whatever. And on my own time, like others, I've just sometimes showed up to those and just simply listened to the conversations that are taking place. And then at some points, depending on the conversation, they're looking for input from whoever may be there. Those have been incredible. My first one was in 2005 in Arizona. I watched the summit and listened to the summit. And then at one point I was on the docket to then pitch the proposal for hosting the 2007 AM Worlds. So I had a reason to be there, but then when I got there, it was so much more than just my AM Worlds pitch, right? And I was like, why isn't everyone here? Like, these are some the leaders of our organization. Why are there not all sorts of players and manufacturer representatives and all sorts of people there and present? This long-winded statement here is, or question really is, what's the difference between the summits and then we'll say board of director meetings? And do you see that people should have access to one or both? Like, could you clarify that?
I would, yeah, that's a good question. My understanding is that there isn't much difference between the summits and the teleconferences, other than just being in person. I think the idea is that the meetings tend to be longer during the summits. It's more of an intensive. Sometimes they tackle larger issues that they know might take several days of discussion, whereas the teleconference meetings are, I think 90 minutes to a couple hours. Um, but yeah, substantively, I think the two types of meetings are more or less the same. I don't really see a really good reason to distinguish between them in terms of giving members access. Um, yeah, I do appreciate that they invite members into those summit meetings, but at the same time, what percentage of our members actually have physical access to to being on that location. You're typically talking about probably players at the event. They could hold it at Masters Worlds. They'd be getting 1,000 players, a pool of 1,000 players that might potentially show up. But I know a couple years ago the summit was a Champions Cup, and those are just touring pros, and there's not a lot of not a ton of PDGA members on site there. So the the open meetings idea has been with the PDGA for a long time. This was part of the original PDGA Constitution, which, by the way, just a quick plug, is celebrating its 39th anniversary tomorrow. July
Oh,
2nd
okay.
is PDGA Constitution Day. So
Okay.
I'll definitely be putting a couple posts up, including a link to the actual 1986 July 2nd Constitution for people to check out. But in that document, it says that all meetings should be open to the entire active membership. And back then that was a little bit of a pipe dream because there was no way to do a teleconference or to send out a live link. This ambition to get a ton of member involvement was a great ideal, but it wasn't very realistic. And I think we have a great opportunity now with the technology and our greatly expanded membership base to really leverage that pool of creativity, of energy, that we haven't been able to tap up to now.
Is it as simple? I mean, Johnny V and I, at one point, when we got into creating live broadcasting, we volunteered at one point in 2013 or 14 or 15 and said, hey, you're going to have the summit. We'll bring the cameras. We'll run it. We'll put it on Smashbox or even the PDGA, which didn't really have a channel. But we want to just run it just so people could watch. Just literally, I mean, it was before we were Zooming, but it was going to be a Zoom, call where anyone on YouTube could simply just watch the board, the summit.
We were desperate for content.
We were. And we were willing to do it. And we, in some regards, I totally understand. We were met with hesitation and or rejection. We just weren't there yet. And now technology is only improved by 1,000,000%, considering we've now since then gone through COVID and there's 1,000,000 ways to live stream to 1,000,000 platforms. Should those be live? Should everybody next Tuesday night when there's a conference, or Thursday night, whatever, Wednesday night, whenever there's a board meeting, should everybody have a one-way viewing ticket of just being able to sit and tune in and watch it? Is that except
Absolutely.
for executive session?
Except for executive session, which would be predefined. We would know what kind of issues should be taken into an executive session. But yeah, other than that, they should be live streamed and open to the membership. I think that the meeting agenda should be published ahead of time so members know what to expect, what's going to be on the docket for those meetings. And maybe even a way to engage those members. So maybe a moderator that can actually collect questions, and if there's a common question, actually present it for discussion. So anything to really to engage the membership, to get them interested, because you might have experienced this when you attended the summit meeting, but seeing these discussions is really eye-opening. The nuances and complexities of these issues don't necessarily strike you right away until you see people wrangling over them. Rules changes that might seem obvious or intuitive can get really sticky quick if somebody thinks of scenarios that could cause trouble. So um, the PDGA takes a lot of heat because it seems like they make decisions. Nobody understands how the decisions are made. They seem like somebody might be sitting in a an ivory tower issuing fiats, and when it goes wrong, that can be quite embarrassing. So, if members had access to these debates where we see how the decision was made, we understand how we wrestled with these, various viewpoints, and darn it, we still got it wrong. At least we know how the decision making process went. We can diagnose where it went wrong and fix that process for next time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like the PDGA is kind of a black box in that you don't see what's going on until something comes out. I don't necessarily find that always to be true. I think there is some lack of looking on some people's parts, because some of this stuff can be found on the PDGA website. Yeah. There are board meetings, minutes, and things like that. But as I think with everything, there's no harm in opening that up even more, probably.
Sometimes, even if you spoon feed information, though, people still grit their teeth and keep their mouth shut when you're trying to spoon feed it. So I see it from all perspectives. Mike, I guess my follow-up to what we're just saying specifically with regard to these board meetings, is that a common practice in other organizations that may be similar to ours?
It's a good question.
Do you know of that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we have organizations like FIFA. Now, after going through a pretty major scandal, they live stream their Congress, which is their major assembly of all their associated organizations. Another organization, a sports governing body that live streams its board meetings, is USA Gymnastics, which, again, was a really awful scandal. So these are reforms that kind of took place after scandals. But, outside of the sports governing world, just in government in general, you guys already mentioned C-SPAN, local school district board meetings. These are organizations with budgets that are far beyond what the PDGA operates with. So, the idea that there's too much at stake or the sport has gotten too serious to do something like open meetings or transparency, I don't really think that argument carries.
No, I mean, every corporation has their board of directors meeting. Usually their stock stuff is recorded and it can put out for all the members or stockholders and things like that. And that's ultimately kind of what the PDGA is for us.
Well, that's true. I mean, it is, I'm glad you used that word, corporation, because the PDGA is a corporation. It's a nonprofit corporation, incorporated in Colorado, but it's also a sports governing body. So it kind of wears two hats. And I think there's this identity issue the PDGA needs to grapple with, which is, are we a business? Are we, is our measure of success the number, our revenue or our membership numbers, or all these kind of data points? Or is our measure of success, trust and engagement with the disc golf community and acting as a trusted, the trusted governing body of the sport that all of the stakeholders know they can come to and have a fair shot at influencing the direction of the sport, influencing decisions, getting event bids, understanding the processes. To me, I think that the PDGA should focus its energy on operating itself the right way as a governing body, is making sure that our competition is fair and to the highest standards, making sure that all the stakeholders feel like they have a say. And I think that focusing on the process is where we should put our energy, and let's let the results come as they are. I think that disc golf has always shown that it has its own momentum. Disc golf it's a fantastic thing. Despite blunders and bad decisions by the PDGA and other organizations throughout the decades, disc golf has always forged on, and I have that faith. So I think that the PDGA's job is to remove barriers for success, not to go out and make the success happen itself. And that comes with operating as a healthy, functioning democracy, as a healthy, functioning government.
I'm gonna follow along with some of with what I feel like is at least in the realm of transparency. A couple other things listed on your Bill of Rights that I've again posted in the chat, and I know you've posted in other places. But a couple that jump out from transparency perspective: Specifically, I see point number 8 is open and fair elections. Point number 10 is open and fair hiring practices. Let's just start, because you are running for the board, which has undergone somewhat of a revision in the last few years. Do you like the way that this process is going, regardless if you win or lose? Maybe. Do you like how the board election process is currently happening right now, or is there anything that you would change?
Yes, there's definitely things I would change, but let me start off with, because I was always taught to give a compliment sandwich. So let's start with saying something nice about the election process. I was a little skeptical that I would be allowed on the ballot. To be frank, because when I applied to be a nominee, I included my 10-point Bill of Rights and was very open about what my platform would be, about what my criticisms about the way the PDGA currently operates were. And I was concerned that that the nominating committee, for political reasons, because they felt uncomfortable because I was being critical or wanted to see changes, would keep me off the ballot, and that was not my experience at all. They were fully concerned with competency, qualifications, and background, and making sure that that I would be a responsible member of the board. So, in that respect, I've my concern about about the nominating committee process has been alleviated quite a bit through the process.
Mm-hmm.
I still would like to see some changes made there. I think that just because this nominating committee is operating well and not kind of putting its thumb on the political scales, doesn't mean that they all will in the future. And so I kind of, I want to make the systems. I kind of want to make the systems foolproof, to where the eligibility requirements are clear, they're documented, they're open for everyone to understand, and the process and decision making matrix is also published and equally clear, so that when members can see who comes out and who's actually on the ballot, they understand, oh, this is why the nominating committee selected this slate of candidates. They met these requirements. So yeah, I would like to
you
see
don't
that.
feel like that's the case right now? Is that kind of what you're then saying? Is you feel
No,
like
it's a little vague. It's a little vague.
Okay.
The eligibility requirements, the kind of decision matrices, I think are not public. So yeah, I would like to see that a little bit more clear. And then in my Bill of Rights, I called for at least one kind of candidate forum. There's something we see a lot on the political campaign trail, and I think it's so important to have candidates not just have an interview with you, Terry, or put out their candidate statement, but actually interact with each other. It would show how those candidates are likely to interact in a room, with other board members making decisions, and it would really help, I think, people understand where those differences are, because like I said earlier, a lot of times there's really not much to distinguish between the candidates. We all, want to see the sport grow and thrive. We all love the sport. We're supporters of the PDGA. So it's tough sometimes to suss out the real difference between candidates. And so I think, a conversation, a forum would really help achieve that.
I'm going to say it right now. If there's ever a debate stage and I could MC
geez.
talking to all the candidates at once, I'm just saying, like, that would be fun, first of all.
It's not supposed to be fun.
Well, it'd be fun for me.
I know, but that's not the goal of the.
A little bit of fun's not a bad thing. If people were, if it was entertaining and people tuned in and watched and got to know the candidates and got to know the issues, I think that would help engagement, probably raise our voting rates.
Yeah, that might go a long way. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that I do appreciate that. Obviously, all 5 of you that made it through the nominating committee, have your statements. Those are all available on the PDGA page and other places you've posted them. And then a couple of years ago, the idea that, hey, let's find another medium, another way to potentially put it out there, because some people do watch YouTube or download a podcast or whatever. So there was one more way of doing it. And then I know you yourself have been also active, whether it's been Facebook or Reddit and other places, of putting yourself out there. I mean, you're running a campaign, and I feel like you've been arguably the most aggressive and in taking advantage of all those. Would you say the same? And or is there what's gone into that strategy of doing this?
Absolutely. I'm kind of trying to model what I would hope a campaign for the PDGA board would look like. I really even as a staff member, I didn't always understand the differences between candidates. A lot of times it seemed like a personality contest or a popularity contest, instead of understanding, what the real proposals were, what somebody's real platform was. So, I'm trying to model that by running the campaign that way. And I also really do care about the issues. If I'm not elected and one of the other, or two of the other five get the nod for the board, I still want to feel like I put these ideas out there, that I made it part of the conversation, and that and I think people have been responding well to my outreach online, and hopefully, and I think that other candidates and the PDG are going to take notice of that and make changes, whether or not I'm elected to the board. To be honest, for the last year or so, I've been in dialogue with the PDGA behind the scenes. So, even before I came onto the campaign and made a lot of these issues public, and I've been putting pressure on them to make some of these transparency changes that I'm calling for. And I've seen progress. I've seen more appearances by leaders of the PDGA, doing interviews, making themselves available. And I don't want to take credit for that, but I think it's a great thing. And so if I can continue to put pressure in that direction, that's what I'm trying to achieve. That's why people see me online so much recently.
Knowing that you worked at the PDGA, how much for 5 years, and as you've pointed out, and I couldn't agree more, that those were 5 huge growth years. I mean, obviously, it was roughly during the major portion of COVID, or all of COVID, that you were there. Does that give you a substantial leg up on the inner workings? And where do you lean into some of that knowledge that you gained in working there, as opposed to a lot of these other people have been maybe longtime members, volunteers that have won awards, in fact, and international in 2 of the competitors, or 2 of the board members. But what is the additional working at the PDGA do for you in your overall stance?
I think, it's exactly as you said. It's a big leg up as far as hitting the ground running at the PDGA. It's a very complex organization. They do a lot: event sanctioning, rules, tech standards, international growth, events, etc. The list goes on and on. And it takes, I don't care, what your background is. I don't care how smart you are. It takes months and probably years, really, to fully wrap your head around not just what the PDGA does, but kind of the processes that take place for each of those functions. And so, just to give you an example, sitting on something like the majors committee, which I did for years, seeing how event bids are handled, and understanding, how major events are established and promoted. That's something that you can't read in a manual. You have to go through it. When I was on my rookie season on tour as a media guy, not as a player. I never made it on tour as a player.
Mm-hmm.
In 2021 at the Ogden Worlds. And as we all remember, that there were some fireworks over there in Ogden, and not all good fireworks. That event was a very up and down affair, especially for the PDGA. And so, seeing what it's like to be in that position when things are not going well, trying to handle PR crises, trying to fix a mistake that was made, and understanding all those considerations that need to go into a decision like that. That's on the job training that you can't imagine until you're there. And so, other candidates who haven't gone through it, it's no knock on them, but it is a leg up in the sense that I'm going to go in there. I would go in there on day one, knowing how decisions are made, and it's helped me be effective for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. In that, seeing the inner workings, and then, like you said, being on the ground, literally being on the ground for some of these things. You know, your feet are planted right there, watching and listening to these conversations, actively being involved in these conversations as things are unfolding, both good and bad. I can see as being an advantage for you. Something that we should really almost have even opened with and touched on that probably goes largely overlooked is the massive compensation for these couple of hours that you'll put in. Can you talk about, and I'm saying that very facetiously, of course,
tongue in cheek there,
but yeah, can you talk about what this position all entails, like you know, per the description?
Yeah, it's a big time investment. I think there's at least one meeting per month, one teleconference per month, two in person board meetings per year. So there's some travel, and then there's kind of being on call when issues come up. If there's something like I don't know, a foot fault scandal that's going down, and the PDGA needs to respond quickly. They will get on a chat and they will make decisions. So it's kind of being on call all the time. It is working on proposals, getting ready for board meetings to present ideas, present programs. It's just uh, sitting through long discussions on nuances of rules changes and tournament standards changes that would probably make 99% of disc golfers' eyes glaze over in about 3 minutes. This is the kind of punishment that I'm seeking. So yeah, I think I might be talking myself out of it actually right now.
But you're compensated so well for it, right?
No, it's there's no pay at all, and all you get is flack from all sides of every issue, no matter what position you take. But no, honestly, it's not a very glamorous position in that sense, but at the same time, it's a huge honor. It would be a huge honor to serve on the board, to be a public servant for the sport of disc golf and to represent disc golfers. This is why we have a slate of very talented candidates vying for the job, because it's the best sport in the world, and to be in a position to affect good and to help the sport progress. I mean, it's a huge honor.
One of the other points on your Bill of Rights, and that kind of goes hand in hand with who's on the board and the makeup of this board, is representation from pro players or just players in general. I don't know if you necessarily, doesn't look like you specify necessarily professionals, but active players. We've seen that. Johnny and I have been around long enough. We've seen some of that bomb miserably. In terms of essentially a popularity contest leads to the biggest names and most popular people getting elected, but then it not panning out for them to be truly engaged and or viable or remotely useful in terms of the board setting. Great people, not so much for the board. So how do you make that distinction about players versus non-players, and what's a concern maybe there, or a guideline you're looking at?
It's a great question. One of the real impetus for that particular point in the Bill of Rights was the fact that it's an Olympic standard. It's part of the IOC standards to have athlete representation on the national governing boards of Olympic sports. And their reasoning is that the athletes are the ones with the highest stakes. Their livelihoods are often on the line with these decisions, and so the PDGA, we've got a touring players committee, pro tour players committee, that has really struggled to be effective throughout the years. Very low engagement from the pro tour players, and it's no knock on them. It's kind of understandable because it's not really clear what the role of the Pro Tour committee is. Committee work is grueling, and you're working hours just to get to the point to make a recommendation to the board to make a decision. So you're not actually the decision maker. You're just working really hard to make a recommendation to the decision makers. So it's easy, I think, for players, for members of those committees to feel like they're their time's not really being used very well. So the difference between that and having players on the board itself, I think would be huge. You would see a lot more engagement from those participants. And then the question of a popularity contest, could it turn into somebody with who's thin on ideas but hugely popular running for the board and kind of throwing a wrench in things. I think it could happen, but the way I envision it is that the pro players as a community would hopefully take ownership and really kind of start to recruit among themselves to see who are going to be their representatives. Think about a players union like the Major League Baseball Players Union. These organizations are so crucial to providing balance between the business owners, the owners of the sport, and the players who are really making things work. Right now, there is no players union, as far as I understand it. The DGPT has a reputation of being pretty responsive to the players' needs, which I think is great. But at the end of the day, the DGPT is a private company with a sole owner. So if it comes between something that Todd Rainwater wants and something that the players want, I I kind of see how that would go. So the PDGA, on the other hand, is, again, to go back to a theme, a governing body, not a for-profit organization, that ideally would give the players a real voice, to come in and affect change. And so to guarantee the players a certain number of spots on the board, a certain amount of representation, I think would greatly improve the relationship between the top level professional athletes and the PDGA, that's really suffered in the last 5-10 years.
When I think of players, I then immediately go personally right to another hot topic, not the store, but a hot topic of conflict of interest. And that gets thrown around a lot. Sometimes I feel like it's appropriate. More often than not, I think people are making too much of it. But
it's also a nice way just to dismiss somebody.
Yeah, and I have a lot of really in-depth, feelings about the whole idea of conflict of interest in such a small, growing sport. But my question to you with that is, do you feel like we have a problem with conflict of interest from just the board perspective? And I'm not saying singling out any board members this very moment, but in general, is that a problem, and or why isn't it a problem? Maybe is a better question.
Yeah, I think it is a problem, if only because it's a perception problem. Again, this comes back to transparency and the lack of understanding about how decisions are made. When members don't see how the event bids are processed, when they don't understand the decision matrices that go into awarding those bids, and they also see board members who have ties to events that are in question, it doesn't take a major league conspiracy theorist to kind of connect those dots and to start to be suspicious. So, I'm not going to go out and say, oh yeah, there was this nefarious plot, there was this conflict that led to this event being awarded. But I completely understand why there are people out there that are raising this red flag that say, hey, this doesn't look right. So, I think making sure that the processes are open, understandable, and clearly spelled out ahead of time, that would just alleviate all those trust issues. I see very little reason, not to do that.
Yeah, I think what I'll say to that is it's very difficult when we have most of our most dedicated people in the sport, and maybe most is not the right word, but we have many of our dedicated people in the sport are actively involved in promoting and doing other things within the sport. And so sometimes when that very active, useful person comes and then also wants to be part of the, we'll say, government side of it, it's immediately the conflict of interest is what's thrown into it, even if it's not at all their concern. But like you said, there's a lot of that that's just simply a perception issue. And I always go back to the club member that says, why in the world are we using screen printer XYZ for all of our tournament t-shirts? And screen printer XYZ, who's a club member as well, is giving the best deal, or is making no money on it, or does 100 other things, and making money on those t-shirts isn't even a thing. And guess what? There's no one else willing or able to step up and provide such a service. And that's where it's like conflict of interest gets thrown around. But when you like dig into it for 2 seconds, it's like, no, that's just like you said, an easy way to be dismissive or call foul when it doesn't really, it's not even there. So I really struggle with it.
It's fair. And, and there is this idea of kind of a legacy agreements where, we're let's say we're trying to find a vendor, or let's go to media, because that's something that we both speak pretty well. So we've got a media company that we've partnered with for years, and now we're going into this next season, and we need to go out and solicit bids for coverage for the next season. I get a bid in from company A and company B, and they are remarkably similar, very similar in price, very similar product. Everything is apples to apples, except for we've worked with company A for the last 3 years. Should company A, be given the nod? In my opinion, yeah, absolutely. Consistency, relationships, history, those are, those are really important considerations to make. And trust between partners, having a good relationship between the vendor and the PDGA, that's important. Let's put that on the decision matrix, right? So we understand that if all things being equal, okay, we can go with the vendor that has been our vendor for this many years, or back to your club metaphor, to the screen printer that's been doing our t-shirts all these years. But again, you might have club members that are suspicious. Why is that screen printer getting all the business? If we published our decision-making process, there would be no questions.
Sure. Yeah. And that is such a good point, is even when things are all relatively similar, if you have those things that you can point to specifically as to how those decisions were arrived at, because I feel like immediately the response, especially when you're the new guy, the response is always, that's not fair. I'm not getting a fair shot. I don't have a chance. It's a good old boys network, or it's a legacy situation, and that's just simply not fair. When I deserve a shot, and it's like, well, you deserve to submit your RFP or submit your proposal, but if they're nearly identical, like you said, that thing that pushes them over the top, that it's good to have that spelled out. And I don't know, that's again a great metaphor, because I do think stuff like that happens at every facet of our sport, and obviously we're not unique in having some of those challenges or whatever. Or situations.
And it goes into the to the hiring practices as well, which is another point on my list. Which is that a lot of times an executive wants to hire somebody they know and are familiar and comfortable with and have a good working relationship with, and that's okay. But again, we need to make sure the processes are fair and understood, so that it doesn't feel like there's a gatekeeper there keeping new people who don't who aren't known but maybe just as talented out of consideration. So let's open up those hiring processes, collect all the best candidates, and then at the end of the day, if the executive says, hey, look, candidate A and B are both really good, but I know A, I like A, and I trust A, I'm going with A, that's fine. But if we get in a situation where, oh man, candidate B is way more qualified than candidate A, but they went with candidate A anyway, then that raises some questions. And that's the kind of accountability that I think is healthy for the organization. We want that executive to be thinking, oh man, I want to hire my buddy, but it's not going to look very good, if they see that I passed over this highly qualified candidate B.
Is there anything that you feel is just a glaring, and this may be not even related to you running for the board, but is there any really big sticking point or glaring issue that you feel like our members or any outsiders, member or not, that they just have wrong, like they've pegged it wrong, and the narrative is just inherently wrong or inaccurate, and it frustrates you to see it or hear it? Is there anything in particular, any issue or thought or decision?
Yeah, I think just the idea that that these decisions, especially on things like rules and tournament standards, are easy and obvious.
Mm.
We have an incident that happens, on tour or something like that. It causes a big firestorm online, and we get a lot of talking heads that'll spout off and be like, "Oh man, if the PDGA didn't have their head so far up, whatever,
Hmm.
they'd be able to get this right." Like, what a bunch of idiots! Like, no, these are all very smart, hardworking people that have a ton of experience in disc golf and have have worked hours, labored hours over each and every one of these considerations. And sometimes you just don't see it coming until the situation blows up, and then you have to go back and say, okay, why did we get that wrong, and how can we make sure that doesn't happen again. One of my favorite, I've been doing a lot of historical research. I'm working on a book, and I've been spending a lot of the last year reading 40-year-old newsletters and magazines, which is so much fun. But I came across this really neat anecdote from really early on in the PDGA. It was in one of the PDGA newsletters, and I think it was 77 or 78. I mean, PDGA tournaments had just started, and I guess there had been a rainstorm, and Ed Hedrick was running the event, and the storm came in, and half the players left the course and went and got shelter. The other half of the players stayed on the course and finished out. And then after the event, the ones who stayed and played in the rain were really upset, because they didn't get called off the course and have a chance to play in the dry weather. And so the newsletter was just, it was really fun to read. It was like, this is a learning process. We're working through these events, and next time we'll blow an air horn and we'll get everybody off the course. And this is a big revelation. So things that seem so obvious in hindsight, even the smartest, most well-meaning people sometimes miss.
Now we've got players complaining when it's blown because it's like 14 and a half miles away.
Yeah,
and it's just inside the circle, so to speak. And,
well, they should have. I don't see lightning. They shouldn't blow it yet, or or they didn't give me enough time. It's there's clearly always no matter what gets done, it feels like it can be or will be the wrong decision. So, Matt, I know I've just kind of been poking around your Bill of Rights. Again, I want people to go check that out. I've linked it in a couple places. Is there anything, before we let you go here, is there anything, I kind of just randomly thrown things at you, but is there anything you want to hit on that I didn't prompt you or specifically bring up that you'd love to share with potential voters out there?
No, I mean, you guys have been great. I really appreciate this opportunity. I think you guys are doing a huge service to PDGA members by having me on, and I would hope that the other candidates would find an opportunity to come on as well. And it's a really good it's a group of candidates. I feel confident in any of the five stepping up and leading the organization. And so just the same thing that you asked people earlier about liking and subscribing to support media producers working in disc golf. Support the candidates in your own way. If you hear a candidate saying something you agree with, show your support, be vocal online, make your voice heard, and definitely go vote if you're a PDGA member, because it's really important. It's really important to the PDGA and to the sport.
Yeah, and that is such a great point. I'll double down on that. First of all, I did my voting earlier today.
I've not done mine
I
yet.
got my thing in the mail, and if you haven't, you can reach out, and we'll make sure to get the PDGA will make sure to get your ballot to you. But it is such a good point. If there is someone, because a lot of people will not do. It's like a lot of other voting, I suppose. They won't do any research. They may or may not just go on a name, or they may or may not go on a post, a single post, positive or negative. And so if you feel strongly about what Matt and or any of the candidates have to say, for or against, hopefully in a civil, adult-like manner, maybe even constructively, you can make a post about it, or you could engage in some civil conversation with others, who's ever favor that might be in, but the more chatter about it, the better, because inevitably, like a lot of overall voting, governmental or otherwise, it's don't do any research, maybe or maybe not bother casting a vote, and then later just complaining. And we've all been guilty of that. So it's good for everyone to educate themselves in whatever capacity. So
More information is the better.
yeah, the more you know. We use that.
NBC will sue us, but sure.
We're all old enough for that one, I think. Matt almost is. Matt, we do appreciate it. I'll say, and you reached out, full transparency. You reached out. You were one of the first people to say, hey, I'd really love some time on Smashbox. We've been saying it for years. Anytime any candidate wants to reach out or wants to be involved and chat with us, we're open to talking to anybody and everybody. So we appreciate you taking the initiative to reach out to us, and we're glad to have you. Voting started as of today.
Yep.
It'll go through the end of July. And if they want to read more or maybe even reach out, what are some of the best ways to get at you directly?
Yeah, let me give you a couple of quick websites to check out my Bill of Rights. I know you're going to link it,
Yep.
but just for the video people, it's tinyurl.com/PDGA Bill. And then I also worked up this fancy little mini documentary. It kind of tells some PDGA history and then ties it back to my campaign and some of the reforms I want to make. That is at tinyurl.com/PDGA film.
Oh, cool.
tinyurl.com. I will put that also in the chat for you. PDGA film. I think you possibly sent that out earlier today. Looks like it is a 20-minute, just shy of 20 minutes out here on the YouTubes, and you've got it all broken up by chapters. And I know what I will download and watch on my plane tomorrow. So
awesome. Enjoy.
I appreciate you doing that. Again, digging into a bunch of different mediums for people to learn more about you and some of the work you're doing and everything else. So, all right, with that, thank you for joining us. We wish you the best of luck. We wish all of our candidates the best of luck. Again, if anyone wants to reach out, they're welcome to join us on the show anytime in the next month. And we'll be encouraging everyone to vote, and we'll do so ourselves. And we'll see. We'll be probably talking about this throughout the month, and then we'll see how it all shakes out a month from now, and what 2 candidates become our PDGA Global Board of Director members. So. Thanks again for joining.
I appreciate it, guys. And happy Constitution Day tomorrow, however you celebrate.
All right. We appreciate that.
What is the proper way to celebrate?
Yeah, Matt, what's the proper way for us to celebrate the PDGA Constitution?
Watch the mini documentary. That'd be a great way to celebrate.
That's a great answer.
Solid plug. All right, buddy. Thank you. Have a good night. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
See you guys. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I will put that URL again. It's spelled out as said, tinyurl.com/PDGA Bill, and then tinyurl.com/PDGA film. So, make sure you check those out, and you can learn a little bit more. And another candidate, Dustin, is out there. Dustin Schreiber.
He said other candidates are listening in.
I love that. I was just about to ask Matt to talk a little trash about your other 4 candidates. I just one line. I just need one line of trash.
I don't think he will.
Well, I'll do it for him. I think Dustin. I'm just kidding. Awesome to see and hear though. Dustin, as well. Invite is open to you. I would assume you'd want it in the month, but the invite is open if it so suits you. So. Reach out and we can talk about it. All right. With all that, hope you guys have enjoyed 2 very, very insightful interviews tonight. I told you it was going to be jam-packed. We're delivering for you. Let's run over a few details of some official business, and then we'll be able to take a break and get into the after show.
Yeah, we'll take care of just this past week with the Discmania Challenge, and then in the after show, we'll talk about some things that are coming up or things that are happening. So
lots of other stuff.
The DGPT Discmania Challenge, formerly the Des Moines Challenge, presented by True Bank. We talked to the FPO winner already tonight. That was Cadence Burge. She is coming on up in the disc golf world. She shot 17 under par. That average right about 1,000.
If you click on
1,005.
I was going to say, you click on whole scores and you can get there pretty quickly. But
I'm too lazy to do that.
Okay.
I want
know it's
to
2
do it
clicks.
this way. Yeah, that's too many for me, Terry. Second place, Holland Hanley, as we said with Cadence. Holland had I won't say a rough first round, but a little bit worse than she had probably liked, but then came storming back with 1,017 and then 1,005 rating for her second and third round. She takes second place for $4,000. We didn't ask Cadence if she did any sort of splurge. That was one of the questions, especially with a first-time winner. Third place, Owen Scoggins, who we're going to mention a little bit later tonight. Owen takes third place, shooting 995, 1,009, and 974 golf for $2,500. Fourth place, a name we haven't mentioned much this year. She seems to be popping up and down, up and on and off, whatever you want to mention it. The tour, and that's Macy Valadiaz. So Macy took fourth place, 9 under par, tied with Rebecca Don, a name we have mentioned the last few weeks, who has kind of been a mainstay in the top 10 to 15 lately. So Rebecca Don at 9 under, tied for fourth place. Sixth place tie, Valerie Mondahano and Rebecca Cox. Eighth place, Kat Murch. And a tie for ninth place between Hannah Wynn and Ella Hansen. That was your top 10 for the FPO division. Moving over to MPO. Another first-time winner. As you said, we got not since 2011 with Devin Owens and Sarah Hokum, which is funny because Sarah Hokum, she won her first NT. 2011 was her World's year? No, that was Paige year. Well, yeah.
No.
No. I'm saying
2012.
Wasn't 2012 the year that she got rear-ended?
No, that was 2015.
That was 2015?
2012 was the year she won in Charlotte.
Correct.
That was her first win.
Yeah.
PDGA Worlds.
Because I know 2011 is you can tell it's a Paige win because it's an odd number.
Exactly.
9, 11, 13.
Yeah. So, yes, Paige won.
That was
in
2015. Okay. So
Paige won in 11 in Santa Cruz, which broke up the Doss Jenkins sweep.
That's very true. I was there in 2011. I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, so that would have made sense that it wasn't the car accident because I wasn't at the car accident year. Ezra Aderhold wins, shooting 29 under par. Just a solid performance, front to back. Honestly, he there was. I don't want to say there was never a doubt because Adam Hammis made a really, really good run that final round, shooting a 1093. But that first round just really killed Adam's chances of what could have been a really special event for Adam, only shooting 1,004 that first round. But ultimately, being able to come back all the way to second place is nothing to shake a stick at with Adam Hammis. Tied with Evan Smith, who maybe has the smoothest putt in disc golf. It's nice to watch.
It's so clearly, it is like his driving, so darn effective.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite to watch. I respect it and I love it.
It's not my favorite to watch,
but it's I would like to see, and I generally putt kind of soft.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But I would, and again, this means nothing. This is totally me being like,
the problem,
silly nitpicky.
Course.
I would love to see a little more force into it, but clearly there's no arguing with the result. That's just me personally for when I think Wynn picks up. That he has just a little more velocity,
a little more
it.
spin, a little bit more oomph.
I don't know if
sure.
Velocity is the speed and or velocity is all I'd like to see. It's smooth. I'm not going to deny how smooth it is. I would just love to see it a little more forceful. And I think I said that during one of the check-ins. It was during Evan and Ezra, and I think they were both putting out on a hole, and I got called on kind of late in the whole situation, and I forgot how I even arrived at, but I said, just look at the two differences. Like Ezra slamming, slamming putts in. And it also obviously helps with his long C2.
I was going to say, which is why he's so good from outside the circle.
C3 distance, of course. And then you see Evan from a considerably shorter distance on this particular hole that I was calling, and Evans just gets there. It goes in, it's dead center, it's perfect, but it just gets there where Ezra's just come slamming in. Funny.
As we know, usually Evan probably won't have any spit outs.
Sure.
Ezra,
of course.
If he's putting that powerfully from inside the circle, we're going to see more spit outs for him. But again, horse apiece. Either way, Evan Smith, 1044. That's what he's rated right now. He's one of the highest rated players. I think the highest rated player that doesn't have a win on the Pro Tour right now. So keep an eye out for that kid. I think he's going to go places.
Sure.
Fourth place, Sullivan Tipton at 26 under par. Fifth place, Corey Ellis. Corey's been having a good couple weeks as well. He's seems to be in the conversation. You know what? He's a former European Open champion. So maybe is he going over to Europe?
Yes, he is.
Okay, he is. So going over to Europe, no better time to start getting hot.
Sure.
Someplace you're comfortable. Sixth place, the hatless Aaron Gossage.
I didn't recognize him.
It was difficult. I recognized him, but only at a second look when they went to him on camera. I was like, "Who's that?" Oh, that's Gossage. Okay, yeah. It definitely looks a little different. I mean, you're just not used to seeing. And he said, first event without a hat, first event in the top 10 this year. I mean,
the hatless wonder, Aaron Gossage.
Maybe you should try shoeless too. Maybe he'll get in the top 5.
I think he's got a shoe sponsorship. So I don't
he
know
does.
If that'll work.
And I don't think you can go shoeless on the Pro Tour.
You can't, but.
Well, either way. Shirtless? Can't go shirtless either.
No.
Clean shaven, maybe. Maybe let's start.
There's some strategies there somewhere.
You know, lightening up his head a little bit. You know, maybe that's been his problem. Got to get that, you know. All right. Aaron Gossage, 6th place. Three-way tie for 7th place between Noah Meinsma, Mason Ford, and Kelvin Heimberg. Mason Ford just he had a really good first round, and then he was on pace to have a really bad final round, I believe it was, when he really turned it around. I think he got like 8 or 9 of the last 10 or 11 holes on that final round to make a comeback, because it was looking really, really desperate for a while. Or maybe that was the second round that he had done that. But either way, it was a good turnaround for Mason Ford on this event.
Yeah, he had a very slow second round where he
was second round.
Just even through 9 and then rattled off 7 birdies in the last 9 holes.
That'll do. Yeah, and finally, 10th place, three-way tie, the newly married Gavin Babcock, Jaden Rye, and Isaac Robinson. And we failed to mention last week, he's in 15th place, newly married Andrew Marweed.
Yes.
We mentioned the Babcock wedding. We let it slip.
It was on my on my notes, and
I know
somehow
it was, and we missed it. So
failed.
Congratulations, Mr. Marweed.
Yeah, as well as Lindsay, who works for the Pro Tour as well. She
talk about conflicts of interest.
I know, like, oh, your man is out there throwing forehands, eating cookies, and you're trying to sell merch. You think she pushes Marweed merch harder? Of course she does.
I bet she does.
Like, this helps pay our bills. Will you please buy this cookie? Anyway, yes, conflicts of interest, just everywhere. All right. Well, awesome. I could go on for hours and hours because I was there. But the long and short of it is definitely a hats off, Aaron Gossage, hats off to a well-run event. Lots of fun. I know there was a little bit of complaining from me and lots of the players that the humidity was almost off the charts. And I get it. We're in the thick of summer-ish now, and it is the Midwest, even though I think we say it about almost most regions of the country at some point, south, southeast, wherever. But yeah, it was sticky and truly oppressive. And then you're walking some of those hills, not the longest course out there, but still a decent amount of hills, and just like the moisture in the grass. Like, you saw zero skips this weekend.
Yeah,
that's why
the
moisture in the grass. It just all around was it was sticky. Not my favorite, but the event was great and everything went well. And thankfully, we had exactly 0 weather delays, which was a very serious concern.
Well, I mean, they
moved up Friday.
Yeah, they moved
Sunday.
up Sundays around in order to help avoid some of those, just in case.
So, yeah, the club is great. People are great. I believe, spoiler.
Oh, geez.
I don't know, spoiler. Inside scoop spoiler. I think there's going to be an on-tour type documentary, I believe, made somewhat revolving around this event. So look for that. And I can say that because I was asked some questions about it. So
sure. Just interesting, A, this event, B, that this event particularly had a first-time winner, Emily Weatherman, last year, and this year, Cadence Burge and
Ezra. So what a
Is it something in the event? Is it a particular reason?
I think the event is just so
because it's got such a weak field.
Well liked. No, just the event is so well liked.
I know. I'm just kidding.
The course. I mean, that's the resounding. I may have beat it to death a little, but that was the resounding comments from the players. Is they enjoy the heck. It's fun. The exact word was fun.
Well, and I think a lot of people talk about the Preserve as like a fun course as well.
Sure. Yep.
This one is, I think, more fun and more difficult than the Preserve tends to be. So it's I don't say it's a unique event because they're all unique events, but the course Pickard Park really lends itself to some really fun and I don't say different either, but fun shot shaping.
Yeah.
It's
great for spectating both online and in person. There's just it's a great community, a great club.
Has been for
they do so
25,
many things
30
so
years.
well. And there's the only knock or drawback that you could say, which isn't really their fault, is just the timing that then I don't want to say chased, but had a few people leave a little bit early. And I think of, Ricky Wysocki wasn't there. Paige Pierce wasn't there. Missy Gannon wasn't there. We know the Europeans had another event to play. So a few of our names either were taking the week off and or were starting their travels. Again, that's going to happen. It wouldn't matter what the event was.
Some event is...
Yeah.
Every year, some event gets "quote unquote" shafted due to travel times. The European swing, whether it was last year was it? Well, for a few years, I want to say it was the D-Glow got kind of. I think it was on the back end of it, of the European travels a few years ago, and now that's a little different with the way that the tour is going. And this year you got Des Moines. I know people were complaining about. I think it was KC Wide Open at one point.
It was because that conflicted with something over in Norway.
There's always things that the schedule is so congested.
Yeah.
That it's good and it's bad, and that it gives these players a lot of options. But somebody's going to feel slighted when I only won at the weakest field. But no, it's a good problem to have, kind of. Until our sport is wealthy enough where our players can take private jets and fly back and forth to wherever they need to go on any given weekend, I think more events is probably a better way than fewer events right now.
Yeah, and no matter what, some players are just simply going to also take some time off as they want to prep for any other event. So a little bit shocked, honestly, to see Ricky not in the field, but he was over there focusing on what's going to be his European swing. So I wasn't shocked, but that was, he's one of those people that jumps out of my mind on the MPO side. So, all right. Well, we're going to talk about some other random things. Mostly disc golf related. I got plenty more for you, other topics and whatnot. Masters Worlds being one of them, along with Hall of Fame inductions that were announced last night in the new class of 2025.
Don't spoil it.
A handful of other things that we can talk about all in the after show. And in the after show, we've got giveaways, one in which includes an Ezra Aderhold and Cadence Burge signed disc from this weekend.
I know her name, but do you still have a problem? Like you have to think that to make sure.
No,
Candice or Cadence or something. Like it's Cadence.
I think I've caught myself once either saying it or almost saying it, and it's a unique name in that, and for whatever reason, saying Candice,
which I don't know.
Maybe it's age. I don't know any other than the one that really matters.
Yeah.
Candice Cameron.
Yeah.
Those were the days. Anyway.
Full House.
But no, I know zero other cadences, though.
Nor do I.
I don't think you know one either. So it's a unique name. I think every one of us, in terms of us media folk, have misspoke at least once. in calling her out. I was going to ask her that on the show earlier.
Well, did you catch the mistake she made?
No, maybe, I don't know.
She said Kristen Tatar tonight.
Yeah, and I'm still okay with a number of others doing that.
I know
it's still new enough to me
that,
but I've heard a lot of FPO players specifically reference her that way, which I think is funny. You'd think if anyone is quote unquote getting it right, it would they would be the first to. But yeah, I've heard a number of others. I think I even said it. I think I said it semi recently. Maybe it was even this weekend. I may have said it once, and I couldn't believe myself for doing it. But yeah, it's gonna slip out once in a while. Here's the real funny question that I heard on the comms this weekend by Ian Anderson before we were live, because I hear everything that gets said that's not on the air as well between Ian and Des.
We're doxing Ian here with this question.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad one, but he said, as we saw Macy and Jamie and Layla, their daughter, Macy's maiden name.
Walker.
Took a second for all of us to arrive there and remember that, though.
I understand, and I don't know why, but it's for some reason it's still in my brain. And I don't accidentally almost call her that. I just remember what it was because I also remember for the first 6 months having a problem not calling her Macy Walker. It was no, it's Valadi, or it's
Yeah. So. At any rate, yeah, we're all getting used to it. Marweed's last name, though? Still Marweed.
I'm sorry, Andrew. Should have taken hers.
I don't know Lindsay's last name. Maybe he did.
I've told you the story. I knew a guy who took his wife's last name. Their marriage lasted less than a month. Ouch.
I'm not getting into the patriarchy here. All right, with that, everyone, we thank our incredible guests in having Cadence along with Matt join us tonight. Congratulations to Cadence. Congratulations to Ezra. Maybe I'll talk more about the celebration party in the after show, the conversation I had with Ezra about that. But congratulations, of course, to him. He's not here. He says he's excited to join us, but clearly with flying over to Norway, it wasn't going to happen today since it is 6 a.m. in Norway now. Yeah, well, he's probably up working out now, but anyway. Either way, needing to get fully rested and recovered is understandable for them to get set. But congratulations to them and the entire Des Moines club for putting on a phenomenal show. I'll pull back the curtain with more details on everything else in the after show. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. One last time, Matt and Cadence, we appreciate them both. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll have the after show. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 564's After Show.
I'd be remiss if we didn't make fun of our friend, who's that?
Scotty Too Hottie.
Well, I mean, no, we can make fun of him too. No, our friend Steve Held, who's also at Pro Masters Worlds.
But is he?
I mean,
some of him didn't show up.
He left the important part, his game,
his birdie bags,
his bag of birdies. He can officially go on record as being the only player in the entire MP40 field to not get a birdie today,
which is
on a birdie course. Not
is
a birdie
a
course,
statistical anomaly. Not only because there are 148 players, but because he himself is a good player.
Yeah, he's like a 970, 975 rated player. He's been close to 1,000 a couple of years ago. He's a very solid player. I went back and forth with him a bit today, and he is just like, I can't find my swing. I had like 2 spit putts. He's like, everything's working against me today. And then he was 4 over. I got up off of my desk. He was on hole 17. When I came back, I looked, and he'd gotten a bogey. And I said, ouch. A little kick between the legs to walk off the course. And he messaged back. He's like, I didn't drive all this way to lay up. Which means he could have laid up for a 4 and a par. But I think with the way his round had been going, he was not happy. And so he said the hole before that, he airballed like a 30 or 35 foot elevated basket on 17.
Yep, on the rocks probably.
And then he's like, I turned around and jammed the 30 to 40 foot comeback out of rage. And I was like, good for you, I guess. But it's, yeah. Tim Court says it's shocking thing is that Joe Revere's not in first. He's tied. I mean, technically he's in 4th, but only 1 stroke out of first place.
Yeah, that's not shocking.
That's not shocking. He's
and that's no discredit to Joe. I mean, Joe shot a 1037 rated round. He's rated 1034, and he's 1 stroke off of first place.
Yeah,
so I am not worried about how Joe will finish for the weekend. And when you have the likes of Kale, who's one of the few people that's in front of him at 9 under, well, Joe sits at 8 under, and the Matt Blakely's right there at 8 under, Danny Polk's at 8 under, Coling's at 8 under, Steve Rico's at 7 under, a couple other guys, Alan Hermosillo and Yasha Komen are at 9. Like, yeah, it's 1 round, and I am in no way.
Yeah, we know Tim was just being a little tongue-in-cheek there, but
yeah,
it's such a good field. I was saying I have some FOMO not being there. I was talking a little bit today with Alan Barker from Infinite Discs, and he's like, yeah, man, these courses are so good. I'm out here. He's playing MA40, even though he played he played MA40 at Memorial, and yeah, so he's playing MA40, and I was like, oh yeah, I know, I feel like I want to be there. He's like, oh man, yeah, these courses are great. I was like, yeah, there's the Midwest courses, I love them. They're a lot like Wisconsin courses, but
yeah, a couple of courses very, very familiar with in that it's BRP, and then they're alternating with Kaposia Gold, and there's a million different layouts that we've seen Kaposia.
It's actually not BRP, it's GRP. Gold Ribbon Pines, because it's the gold level course, Terry.
I'm rolling my eyes.
I know, out of your head. I'm kidding. Although it is, the course is called
the Blue Ribbon Pines gold layout. Sure,
I know,
like
but it's called
gold layout.
Gold River.
Sure. Anyway, on the PDGA it says Blue Ribbon Pines disc golf course. Gold Ribbon Pines is the layout. Anyway,
I know.
I'll just go ahead and go on record though and say, I would have bet your and my house on if somebody would have said the only person in 148 people to not get a birdie, the only one person is our friend Steve Held. Like that again. That the fact that there's only one
is.
And then
he's not in last place. It's not like It's not like he like a ton of bogeys.
No.
He's at 5 over. He had 3 bogeys and a double. There are people who are
10, 12, 20 over.
But even
over.
they got a birdie on 1 or 2 holes.
That's my point. Like at some point, you would think you could close your eyes, throw, and then probably trip and still find a birdie, like at some point. And I'm giving him a hard time, kind of jokingly, but it's just surprising. As a 970-something player that's been around, that's that good, that's why it's all surprising. It wouldn't now if he was a 900 rated player and he was 47 over, because he just can't do it on these courses. Of course, I wouldn't say a word, but it's the statistical craziness of how good he is to not have a birdie and to be the only player in all 148.
I mean, that first birdie tomorrow hopefully is going to be really. It's going to feel good.
Does this rival? Oh, we need a camera on it. Does this rival the Gannon Burr getting his first birdie on hole 2 at the Preserve, which he had to FaceTime about, and there was a whole right up to it. I don't know. This might rival it. So Steve, we love you. Good luck. But for God's sakes, get a birdie.
Yeah, I
get a birdie.
It was halfway through that round, and that's when I messaged him.
Hit one with your car on the way there. I don't care. Just get a birdie.
Yeah, it was halfway through the round. I said, they're called birdies. Look into them, buddy. And then he didn't get them.
Try one.
Then he didn't get them. So, rough. But that's not, obviously, Kale's winning right now. It's only one round into it. If we want to look over at the the FP40.
Yeah, and I'll start as you're getting there. The first thing that hit my news feed this morning is the woman in third.
Holly Finley's ace.
Holly Finley and ace on
was it
hole
on,
16.
Was there any footage or camera of that? I didn't know if there was
there should. I don't know if she was on the feature card.
She was not on the feature card.
Then
I'm fairly
not.
certain. I didn't know if there was like cell phone footage or.
Then I don't know, but I wouldn't guess that there is. So, yeah. But she aces hole number 16. So congratulations, Holly Finley. She got plenty of birdies.
She did.
She played a different course, but and layout. But anyway, she did get a bunch of birdies.
Owen had like 1 day of vacation between these events,
and it wasn't. As she said to me.
Drove.
Oh, she said it to me off camera. It clearly wasn't vacation. The fact that she gets done Sunday, has about 5.5, 6 hours to get up to the Twin Cities or Minneapolis area. That's Sunday. I don't know what time she left Sunday, but then Monday she has to see both courses and then start playing Tuesday.
Yeah.
So the vacation or day off, not even.
She may have played these courses before.
She's never played Kaposia before.
Okay.
She has played BRP, I think, from way back when we were there for the tour. And that was even years ago.
But it's you still want a little bit of familiarity with the course,
so
the layout.
Go walk
OB.
Kaposia at least. And I don't know if she did or not, but she managed to only have one bogey on a par 4 en route to the hot round of 7 under, which just proves there's no stopping Owen.
Yeah, 1,002 rated round.
Sure,
that ain't so bad. Just
I shoot well, I drink beer. I don't shoot well, I drink beer. Right? I mean,
you can't argue with the results.
You can't.
Jen Allen right now in second place. Holly Finley, as you said, in third. Sarah Hokum in fourth. That's your top 4.
Interestingly enough, I'll just quickly say today's round on the FP40 side, playing the Kaposia Silver layout, as they're calling it, it's 7,450, 7,450 feet. Tomorrow, they're playing the Blue Ribbon Pines Silver layout, or whatever they're calling it. Yeah, Silver Ribbon Pines. And that's 7,030 feet. So it's actually about 400 feet. Excuse me. About 400 feet shorter when they take to it tomorrow.
Seems like appropriate lengths for that. FP40.
7,000 feet at being in FP40. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I'm
I totally agree. So your lead card tomorrow. And if this isn't in our wheelhouse of we'll say prime 2014, 2013 ish golf with these ladies, Owen Scoggins, Jennifer Allen, Holly Finley, and Sarah Hokum. And right behind Sarah is Lisa Fakis, who's just became FP40 eligible this year. So fair to say there's also essentially zero surprises in that lead card for tomorrow at this point. So best of luck to them. We'll see them on Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
A couple Other
on the
divisions,
network.
real quick, we'll just talk about who's in the lead. MP50, Mike Randolph is winning. That's a name that we don't say very often, except I think usually around Masters Worlds or World Championships or something. Mike Randolph is tied with Brian Schweberger and Johnny McRae, one stroke behind them. In FP50 right now, after one round, JK is beating Des Redding by 3 strokes. MP55, Barry Schultz, 7 under over Andy Ritter, who's at 5 under. FP55, is that Leidy Helgren? We'll go with Leidy Helgren.
Or Liddy, one of the two, sure.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know her.
Yeah. She's at even right now, 2 strokes better than Barrett White and Christina Seelman. MP60, Ron Converse is winning over Jim Oates. FP60, Chris O'Cleary, 2 better than Amy Schiller. MP65, J. Gary Dropcho by 1 stroke over Bill Rowe. FP65, Sandy Gast, 6 strokes over Catnip. MP70, Alan Beaver, Hall of Famer. And I just feel like if I go MP70 and I'm not even going to look, there's probably at least 4 or 5 Hall of Famers in this field. But Alan Beaver with 1 stroke over Jay Gobreck. In FP70, Lori Cloyes Chupa by 10 strokes right now over Angie Molitor.
Which I believe is, in fact, Cale's mother.
Oh, is that his mom?
I believe so.
I mean, 735 White Bear Township. It everything fits as far as the location.
I feel silly that I'm not sure on
Maybe
that.
it's his aunt.
Yeah,
Because as we know, he is related to Paul Molitor. That's always been the talk.
Yeah.
And,
I feel silly. I'll report back later.
okay, report back later. You're good with moms. And then MP75, you got Dr. Rick Vokes over Ron Engbriston. Yeah, those are your M and F P
FPs.
Yeah, those are your M and FPs right now after 1 single round. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Keep up with it. Hopefully, who's doing not live coverage? Sorry, who's doing post production of MP?
I am.
FP40?
Do not quote me.
I will quote you because we're talking on the internet.
I am almost positive. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say I am positive. MP40 next day post production is being brought to you by Gatekeeper Media.
Okay.
And FP40 next day post production is brought to you by Ace Run.
Ace Run. Gosh, those guys.
Conrad and Felix. I had to hang out with them this weekend. They will be doing that, and then this might be your last time that I'll put it out here for you. Is that tomorrow I had to Bend, Oregon, and as I was just alluding to, on Thursday it will be the FP40 division. On Thursday, they will be playing the Blue Ribbon Pines property, and we will be live for that. So FP40 is live on the Disc Golf Network. I think you have to have a pro subscription.
Yes, I think
but
so.
But it is live on the Disc Golf Network, FP40 Thursday. On Friday at Blue Ribbon Pines, gold version, it will be MP40 on the Disc Golf Network. So it's 1 round per day of those 2 divisions for those 2 days. And then on Saturday, my understanding is that Saturday morning we will have the FP40's final round. And then Saturday afternoon, we will have MP40's final round, also at Blue Ribbon.
So we get 3 Blue Ribbon Pines?
Yeah, I think that was an asset challenge.
I get that. And trust me.
Shut your face.
I'm not judging.
Yeah,
it's just that Kaposia's such a even more classic park than Blue Ribbon Pines.
Yeah, and honestly, kind of, I don't want to say tougher to cover.
It is. I'm sure it's tougher to cover.
Yeah.
We've been there. We've covered it, Terry.
Yeah, I know.
But I just a little part of me just
Sure.
would love to see Kaposia one day. But that's fine. I get it. Blue Ribbon Pines is such a nice course, great coverage, all that good stuff. But I just a little part of me was hoping we get to see some Kaposia.
Shut your face.
So, whatever.
Heartquake asked, "Are you filming it, Terry?" Sorry if you already mentioned. Hopefully, I just answered that question for you. Ace Run Pro got Holly's ace. Jason Porter.
Oh, that's
said.
that's
So
awesome.
There might have been a backup, and then they were just standing there.
Because I didn't think she was on the feature card.
That I can't speak to. I honestly have no idea.
Maybe I'm wrong there. It could be.
Will they be on their channels or the PDGA? That's a fantastic question. This year, with the way the budgeting and everything was structured, they will be on their own channels. So I know in the last couple of years, for a lot of the majors, those two teams have basically been the backbone, gone out and edited and then put together and then had it released on the PDGA's channel. They restructured some things, and they're putting them on their own channels. And I know that specifically because that was the agreement that I was part of, for instance, for the U.S. Masters, where Ace Run was putting it on the MP40 on their channel, and I had FP40 on my channel. So I know that's how it's going this year. Will that forever stay the same? That I'm not sure, but that's the way it will be. So check out their channels, like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. But yeah, that's where you'll be able to find it.
Oh,
I'm sure there was a post about a feature. There you go.
Yeah, I just looked at the cards on the PDGA page. It was Own, Allen, Finley, and Holcomb. So it's the same lead card that you're going to see tomorrow.
Was it in the same order there? Well, no, it would be. Yeah. Just double checking that's for sure.
Yeah.
Spitting it out.
Yeah,
correctly.
first card was at 8:44 a.m. Tomorrow will be 8:44 as well. That was when feature card went off and then lead card.
Okay.
And you can see second card here and third card.
Yeah,
But
so
be different tomorrow.
Yeah, so then they must have had it.
Yes,
no
they did.
Nate
All right,
Sexton. No, Sexton talked to us not only here on our show a few weeks ago, but also I've been around him in person where he's like,
ooh, look at me.
yeah, I know, I'm so cool. No, he made the joke. He's like, Kale's not baiting me into his backyard, of course, as he knows and loves, to then go try and challenge him in Minnesota. That would be crazy. So he had made plans to go to. I'm not saying that sounds like a bunch of excuses, but
it sounds
he
like
is
like weak sauce.
He is in Norway. Is my understanding.
He had to run away to Norway
to another country
to avoid Kale. That's weak.
And Joe Revere. Yeah. So, no Nate Sexton. Obviously, Germ is making his Pro Masters Worlds debut. He's played a few other Pro Masters events, including winning on this very course just a couple weeks ago.
Last week.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. With that, and speaking of some of these players,
I was gonna kind of segue into that, Terry. So you're flying out to Bend. Are you going to see a brand new Hall of Famer?
Maybe.
Okay.
I saw one yesterday. 2 days ago. I saw Avery 2 days ago, but Avery's mom, Mama Jenkins, Sharon Jenkins, inducted into the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame along with her son Avery, along with Brian Schweberger, along with UC Maresma, along with Dan Doyle.
I don't know Dan.
Really. Yeah, you wouldn't. Only because you haven't been out and played.
Yeah, no.
In New York area.
Nope.
He's famous for course design and doing a ton of different things, and also making. He made some components for courses at one point.
I'm definitely not judging his qualifications.
Yeah. And to be honest, I know of him, but I don't know him well myself, which feels like a missed opportunity, and hopefully that will change because I do know so many of our Hall of Famers. Congratulations. I mean, I could just say it a million times over. Congratulations. Your 2025 class of the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame. Again, Dan Doyle, Avery Jenkins, Brian Schweberger, UC Maresma, and Sharon Jenkins. So very, very, very cool. I had no idea. I definitely would have said something to Avery. Had I known this, even on Sunday when I saw him actually multiple times
and he
this
didn't
weekend.
mention it?
He didn't. I would assume he knew. Maybe he didn't know. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he didn't find out.
Maybe he genuinely didn't know. That's a good question. I'll find out tomorrow in talking to Nate and Val when I arrive in Bend. But I'm not sure if he knew ahead of time. I don't know what they're doing in terms of how they're letting people know. But regardless. congratulations.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know 4 of the 5 very, very well.
All well deserved.
Obviously,
like there's no. We're still not to the point where you're like, is that person really a Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Let's justify these things. We are still putting in phenomenal people into our Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so congratulations. We bring up Schwebe's name almost every single week here on the show, so if somehow you didn't, know, you
Does this count as a win for him? Like, does he get to put it on his
one
win
more
tally?
on his list? What I was thinking is, I don't know what the plaque says. I'm sure I'll read it at some point, but the plaque usually obviously has some kind of write-up about them.
They should make it put every one of his wins.
I thought it would be funny that if the plaque read something like, as of writing this plaque, he has blank amount of wins, because between the time they wrote it up and the time it got printed and handed to him, he probably picked up 2 or 3 more wins. You figure they got that plaque done at least 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he picked up probably more wins just since they wrote the freaking thing. So awesome to see.
Maybe they just did it in like erasable Sharpie, like that erasable marker, so you can just kind of squeak one out and then
put a new one on
there. Put a new one on there, because by the end of this week, he could have another major win. He's in second place or tied for first. So I mean, that's, if I was him, I'd be like, don't quite print up that plaque quite yet.
Well, we'll see if they have the numbers listed as of that point or not.
Does he have to pay for updates on his plaque?
Like, I need a new plaque.
Like, all right, dude, seriously, Schwebe.
I picked up 33 more wins this year.
Send us a new one, and then he gets to keep the old one.
Jason says, I think they're lucky Nate's not there. I mean, obviously, Nate Sexton would be
probably a top 10 player there,
He has just as good a chance as Joe or Kale or Germ or any one of our top MP40 players. I would not pick him as the odds-on favorite, though, to take it down. And that's no disrespect to him. That's just paying plenty of respect to those other
Kale and Joe,
damn good players that are also still there. So.
Obviously any of those guys that are in like the top 10 could probably come and win, but you have to look at Kale and Joe as the outright favorites. I mean, Joe is the 3-time champion,
something like that, at least.
Yeah,
I think he's 3 now.
Yeah,
I can't even keep them all straight.
I'm sorry, Joe. I'm not going to. And then obviously you've got Kale, who's been so close a few times, and now it's in his backyard. So,
yeah.
And Danny Polk, I love to see that guy up there.
Sure.
I hope
there's no reason he couldn't be sneaky and pull it off.
100%. It's just that he's such as I know he's a name around here, but nationwide he's kind of a no name. Like just because he's so good regionally. But he just doesn't travel, and you don't see
MJ Michael Johansson, who was in the top 4 at the 2012 Pro Worlds. So MJ is 2 strokes off of the lead. Batman 2 strokes off the lead.
Yeah, any one of those guys.
A couple of these guys that you guys are very familiar with. Felberg's 3 off the lead. Josh Anton's only 3 off the lead, or 4 off the lead at this point. So there are plenty of people that absolutely could still get this done, by all means. None of which being Steve Held. We love you, Steve, but get a birdie. Should I send you one in the mail? If I send you one now, you'll at least be guaranteed one by Friday.
Oof.
Just with the mail.
Would you, assuming you finish at the same score, would you rather have a really bad first round and then 4 good rounds? Let's just say you're finishing in 40th place.
Mm-hmm.
Or would you rather have 4 relatively good rounds and then finish with that bad round
and still finish in 40th?
And still finish in 40th. Obviously, you're finishing in 40th. It doesn't matter. But do you, would you rather be dejected right away and then maybe feel like you can come back? Like have a little redemption.
You hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably want to get the stinker out right away and then battle back.
That's probably what feels best.
Yeah, rather than feeling like you slid down the leaderboard on the final day. So anyway, good luck to them and good luck to everybody. Hopefully you guys stay chill, literally. And
it's toasty. It's warm.
Yeah. It was the football player that passed away in 2001 when the World Championships were held in Minnesota.
Corey
Strahan or Stringer?
It might be Stritch or Stringer.
Something like that. Yeah, he had passed away during the 2001 Worlds, I remember. It was so hot, it was so humid, and just absolutely, truly unbearable for a few of those days. And the NFL was already, it must have been in August, so the NFL was already starting their training camps and such. And a player had passed away from heat exhaustion.
Corey Stringer, maybe. Sounds right.
So, all right, let me check my list. I had actually, again, a little list of things. Players traveling to Norway, we kind of touched on that. Hall of Fame members we got in there, the Masters Worlds. U.S. women's doubles footage I got released this morning, so please go out there and watch that. My next step would be the FP40 release. I want to get to that. And then two other major things that are still actually on the list that we'll kind of quickly touch on. First of all, let's go with the Creators Challenge on Thursday.
Well liked. I think a lot of people enjoyed the casualness of it, the change of pace that we saw.
Yeah. From what I could tell, it did seem well received, as you were saying.
Yeah.
Today, for the first time, I actually went out and read a few of the YouTube, specifically the YouTube comments, where it was that day. And I think the general consensus, for the most part, yes, it was well liked, and they would like to see A, more creators, and B, more of the creators throwing and interacting, and less talking from me and Germ. I'm not opposed to that at all. This certainly was a test scenario of trying to figure out like how to best manage the entire broadcast. There was not a booth that you could ultimately throw it to, or it would be like a home base. So the fact that I went out with one card, Germ went out with the other card, for what it's worth, I'll pull back the curtain and just share this with you. At no point did I say or radio in and say, hey, I really, really, really need to talk. I got a bunch of stuff and I really want to talk and I need to talk more. At no point did I do that. I think it was a matter of shifting the cameras we had, along with trying to balance like personalities of all the participants, and then also with the play. And so some of you absolutely wanted like a bigger focus on seeing actual shots and play, and some of you really loved some of the personality that was brought out among these players.
I like the personality for this kind of event. I like that they brought grab a fan, that you get a couple little things like that.
I just want to say, like,
I don't know if there's a better format as far as just throwing back and forth, or I don't know. It's hard to say because I'm not in the control room, so it's really, and that's a difficult type of event to cover because you do want to showcase and highlight all the creators.
Yeah, of course.
But
like, be very clear. No one was there for me, and I absolutely wanted to. I was absolutely understood the assignment in that regard. I was simply there to help navigate and direct traffic slightly, and I feel like there were times where I'm walking on the fairway, so of course I'm trying to grab someone and have some kind of entertainment. But if the resounding response was, "Hey, let's watch even more shots," like.
Of course.
I'm good with that as well. There was a mixed bag. I feel like the overall consensus was it was good, and understandably there was a lot of feedback. Some more practical than others, and the producers and the people way above our pay grade, my pay grade, will make those decisions, and I'll be the talking monkey that does whatever they say.
Dust on the board says, I think Creators Challenge would have been better as a post-produced product, and having the creators doing a lot of behind-the-scenes content and such to really market the event. I'm going to disagree. I like it as a live event, but I do see where there could be a lot of value added, Dust, with some behind-the-scenes stuff cut in. If they could have and again, this is a lot of work that somebody has to put in that there isn't a lot of time for. Having some of these creators maybe beforehand, because they are creators, make some videos that you can play during the event. Hey, nice shot, Robbie C. Let's see. Let's have this little 3-minute montage of Robbie C talking about his video production footage, or look, here's here's Hunter from Foundation. Here's a little 2-minute piece that Hunter put together for us about their local course. You know, just little things like that. I thought would have. And I didn't think about this until just puts it like that. But having those things to be able to push into the thing, but then you're getting less play as you play these things. But I felt there was a decent amount of downtime and walking and things that you could have probably fit in.
Yeah,
a couple of those.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but I feel like that then contradicts someone else's perspective that was saying we need more creators involved. And then if let's just say there was another card, let's just say there was a third card, you have even more creators and you have more pros throwing and playing. Then the objective of getting more golf in there without cutting to anything pre-produced, I think, you know, that's how you would negate anything pre-produced, is if there was more. Because I think that was one of the very first comments is, where is so-and-so? And this, I know, this is like kind of what we always say is, no matter who you have on coverage, you can always think of somebody else that you think should be there. And there's a lot of conversation about other creators that absolutely could have been there.
Yeah, of course. But you
know, Bear Bite is one immediately that comes to mind.
But you don't want to, it sounds silly, you don't want to have so many on the first year that you're repeating the next year. I would rather see a focused group this year and then another focused group next year where you have, again, Bear Bites or other people doing that. And Dust says something about how he thought that it would have been good to... He wants the creators putting content on their own channels to help market the event. I think they could have.
Yeah, and they are now, but it's after the fact. And you're saying...
Yeah, because they're probably recorded it during the event, and now they're turning around and doing it. It'd be difficult to do it beforehand, but I suppose they could have...
Well, that's where he's saying if the whole thing is post-produced...
No, I get that.
They can record stuff there and then maybe put out snippets, but you don't want them to entirely ruin it either.
Yeah. It's a balance.
Spoil it.
Yeah, it's a balancing act for sure. There's so many different.
Some people loved it. Some people hated it.
Yeah.
But I feel like more people liked it than they didn't. But there was a lot of feedback in general, coming from a lot of different directions. Again, won't be my real concern.
No, and he's saying
if they want me involved again, great.
Add a post-produced like Jomez. I don't know, like that. Just the whole point wasn't the competition. I feel like though, like. I know there was money on the line, but I mean, when you've got Alden Harris squirting Gannon Burr with squirt guns when he's trying to putt, you know, it's hard to capture some of that looseness and funness in post-production. But who knows? I'm sure it can be done.
Yeah, and as Dave at the Disc Golf Dyers Guild says, trying to cover 2 cards live without missing anything is hard, and that's 100% true.
Yeah,
like I know there were times we weren't on my card, my group, whatever, and they were on the other card, and shots were being thrown that weren't going to, you know, ultimately get caught up with or whatever. And then it's like, well, there's a balancing act of, do you want to see every shot, no matter how bad it was? Like, if somebody is really struggling, and I'm not saying ignore them, because you're still there to highlight them, but if somebody's really struggling play-wise, maybe the more polite thing and entertaining thing would be, hey, let's pull out your personality a little bit more. You've just shanked for the 6th time. Nobody needs to see a 7th. Let's talk about, you know, what's next on your channel or whatever.
Sure.
So I haven't watched it back. I've just seen and heard some of this feedback. I don't know if I'll go watch it back.
I caught about 40% of it, I would say. It was on in the background.
So I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that they do it again.
Yeah, I don't doubt. It's just a matter of what gets adjusted and who's all involved. We'll see.
Some other news, some really good news, I would say. I know we've been talking about the Ben Askren thing for the last few weeks. Ben officially had a double lung transplant 2 days ago, I believe it was now. And
yeah, possibly yesterday or the day before.
Maybe, so this next week is obviously extremely important. You're trying to find out, as anyone knows, about organ transplants, is that your body can reject them. So everybody is got their best wishes in for Ben right now. And I know Terry's pulling up something from Amy, his wife. Discraft tomorrow is releasing like a fundraiser disc that you can get. Maybe 2 of them, actually, even. All proceeds will go to Ben. I guess there's some insurance issues that they're running into. I don't know all the details. But what we do know is that Ben did get the double lung transplant, and now they are just hoping that healing progresses and continues.
Yeah, and as his wife Amy posted Monday morning that he got it, we're thankful to the donor and his family. Beginning of a new lifestyle for Ben, but every day he has is a gift. It still doesn't feel real that he was walking around completely healthy 5 weeks ago. So much can change so quickly. Keep him in your prayers and hope that his new body welcomes the lungs. And thank you for the support, essentially, is what she's saying. I'm hoping in the coming weeks, Ben will be able to give the next update, but hopefully he will wait until after the drugs wear off. So,
how lucky are those lungs? Like, you're getting put into an athlete. I mean, there's probably not a better person. It's like, you could get put into a smoker. You could have been put into, someone who's lazy that just sits around. Ben is none of those things. He's a super active guy, which is part of the reason that this, I think, happened with the injury that occurred while wrestling that turned into pneumonia and all this other stuff. So how lucky are those lungs that they get to put into a world-class athlete's body?
Yeah. Well,
even one that's a little bit older.
Yeah, best of luck to him and his family. I don't know I'll be the first to admit, in this case, I don't know anything about any of the insurance conversations that have gone around. Yeah. I still am on Amy's train of thought. Like, if I don't read it specifically from Amy, his wife, posting it on Facebook, she said, don't necessarily believe anything and everything else. So wherever it stands, but I also am not going out on any limbs to say most of the, insurance industry sucks shit is crap.
Yeah, no, I think
everything you could possibly hate about all of things insurance. Like, here's maybe my challenge before I get too worked up. My one challenge would be find me a time where
someone had a glowing review of their insurance company.
I don't want to just say insurance. They paid their
more
job
than I expected.
Yeah, I don't want to say. Don't give me just an example of when insurance, quote unquote, did their job, but when insurance went above and beyond, and I don't want to say when you were thankful for it, but just give me a time when you can give a glowing review for the insurance industry. I guess you could go through a disaster and they actually, quote unquote, do their job. I think that's the bare minimum.
But
even then,
other than their own commercials, you don't usually hear about them going above and beyond.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't seem to be, health insurance doesn't seem to be popular.
And Carney, you can say that you don't like Ledgestone. That's fine. I'm saying all insurance everywhere, like the entire, we'll say, concept is where I struggle. Because there's so many other things that force us to even have the insurance in the first place. That is a bigger global frustration and picture.
Not so global.
Oh, true. Correct. That's a good point. I figuratively mean global, overarching problem that I have. But again, that's another fight for another day. So, all right, I'm gonna triple check my list. Oh, and then other things health related. Obviously, a huge topic of conversation that popped up over the weekend is the PDGA World Disc Golf World Championships WADA testing notification, and then basically the PDGA. I guess I'll go ahead and put it in the chat in case somehow somebody's actually missed it. Maybe it's just here for archival purposes. But announced this weekend that the PDGA was recently informed that any player, regardless of nationality, could be subject to anti-doping testing at the 2025 PDGA Pro Worlds event in Finland. We are alerting you to this possibility shortly after being given this information ourselves.
Don't smoke the weed. Don't have the THC drink.
Obviously, a very long, in-depth, complex overall system, process, procedure thing that is just far more common from a European perspective, in that our European players,
They're used to this.
are 100% used to this. The rumor I've heard, and I sometimes hate repeating rumors that I didn't specifically validate, but the rumor that I've heard is that it was shortly after Evelina even won U.S. Women's, and upon her return, sometime after her return, she had been tested. So it's just a common practice over there.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some randomness to it. There's their own protocols and procedures for it all. 30 some days seems like a very significant number, as opposed to then finding out or being notified, say, 7 days before, or a timeline that's a little tighter to normal body procedures and processes. I don't have anything to add on to the top of it other than it's announced. Everyone now knows. Dare I say, you don't have an excuse if you get busted?
I mean, it depends.
Because you do know now?
I mean,
you can love or hate the rule, and that's fine. I'm good with that. But
you and I
at least now know the rule.
You and I
know it's a possibility.
Are not experts, and I guess it would depend on the type of testing they do, how far back. Like, I'm gonna make some stuff up, so I know all the people that know everything about drugs and how to avoid testing positive and whatnot. But like hair samples that go back 30, 60, 80 days, urine samples, maybe 30 if you're, I don't know all the details clearly. I sell my urine, so that's a good call. Maybe that's how I can make money to go to World Tour.
I was gonna say, we just discovered how we're gonna fund our trip.
There you go. But I'm not here to have a conversation about the drug testing, not the policy, but like the times and whatnot. I am curious as to the authority of WADA. Like, do they have the right to do this, to step in? I mean, is this an event that is being that is overseen by WADA at some point, that they can do this? Could the PDGA step in and say, no, not for America. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Could they? I don't know.
Yeah. It sounds like that conversation could still be on the table.
Yeah.
Potentially. This may or may not. Maybe there's some things that have to get ironed out and or litigated out in some capacity that there isn't an application to some of our players. That I can't speak to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think anyone knows those answers yet.
Yeah,
I think there's a few things that are TBD.
Like if you told me WADA was like, oh yeah, we're gonna random drug test all the European players, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's okay. Like
that would be anticipated.
It'd be a little bit more anticipated versus the entire field. But again, I don't know how everybody ties together. I don't know how this works together. The fact that maybe they can do it. I don't look at it this way. There's a lot of crazy things going on with foreigners in our country right now, and us going over somewhere else. Can I really complain? I don't know. Figure it out. If you know this far in advance,
at least there's a warning.
There's a warning.
There is a fair warning, so to speak. And make your decisions as you will, but there is a fair warning at this point. Does that affect some of your plans? Would that maybe still change your mind? Are you second guessing some part of the trip and or the trip at all? Those are all things that I can understand people are maybe grappling with to some degree. But as of right now, more than 30 days out, I'll say there's a fair warning. Now, of course, I'm sure there's been comments. I haven't dug for much of this. I'm sure there's been comments that said, I wish I would have known this when I signed up, or even before I signed up, or before I bought a plane ticket. I'm sure. I think, per even with the PDGA, how they stated it, in saying, was recently informed that any player, blah, 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 we are alerting you to this possibility shortly after being given this information ourselves. So, yeah. We'll see if there's impact.
Yeah, there's going to be...
ultimately, there could be 50 Americans tested and could have absolutely zero impact and nothing happens. There could be zero. There could be zero Europeans or Americans tested. You don't know.
So here's what I'm going to say. Hey, pro. Yeah, you. Yep. Talking to you. The one that knows they're probably going to get busted. This guy right here, I've never done drugs.
What?
Never. So, fly me over. We can help each other out here.
You're going to have to store up once you get there. I mean, you can't...
I'm not flying with, like, jar... Yeah, I mean, just get me there.
Well, I mean, you just have to pack it.
No, I'm not going to... That'd be a little weird. I think I get caught in some sort of screening.
I don't know.
When I get there, I mean, I'll be drinking water on the plane the whole way. So, just saying. You know, there's tour managers. There's things... who doesn't need a urine manager now?
Yeah, ask Glenn says. Terry Miller, the urine guy. If I'm going to change names...
That's the one you want.
That's the one I'm going to go to.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, I can help you out.
Well, you're in luck, because I can help you out.
Hey-o.
Anyway, we'll see. Like I said, there's a warning out there. This may turn into a quote unquote nothing burger, or maybe it becomes a major ordeal. I mean, I don't even really want to go down that road yet. For the sake of lots of things, I hope this doesn't turn into a fiasco.
From a media perspective, I think it would be fun.
I still don't want it to.
I don't want it to either. But would anyone care if let's just say an American won. They got tested. They turned up positive.
Yeah, what a cluster F.
Who cares? Like, WADA can't be like, you're not the PDGA champion. We're going to disqualify you. It still goes down in the PDGA books. Now, could they test beforehand and kick you out of the event? Maybe. But after you win, who's going to care? Is the PDGA not going to give this person their check? Are
you disqualified? I mean, if WADA is overseeing
they're overseeing the testing, but I mean,
I don't know.
It would be such an interesting conversation because it would throw such a monkey wrench into lots of things. To lots of things. Like, just play pretend Paul Macbeth takes second place. Whoever took first and gets DQ'd, now Paul gets another world championship. It would be so interesting how that would go down. And, would the PDGA, if the PDGA paid that person out, would they be burning bridges with WADA in the Finnish Council? Like, I don't know if it matters, if they care. It's just there's so many questions that could happen, and odds are we're not going to see anything. It'll probably be very quiet, and there'll be nothing.
Does it mean anything to you how Ricky Wysocki responded to the news? And
how did he respond? I did not hear, Terry.
He put out there... Oh, was it deleted? I think he put out there somewhere saying...
He looks forward to it, and
something about like...
Eat these cookies I baked, everybody.
Something about... I thought he put something out there about like, about time, or sounds great, or I love this, or something of that nature. And now I'm not finding out. I thought it was his Twitter account. Maybe it was his Instagram account. I'm sure somebody in the chat actually knows what I'm talking about. But Ricky, he had a response to it. I'm going to look one more spot quickly. Oh, no, it won't be there. No. Anyway.
I mean, good for him if that's how you feel, and if you think that this should be part of the sport. I'm
awesome to see this, he writes. It was the announcement, the WADA testing at 2025 Pro Worlds, and then it whatever. It was essentially linked to it. And then Ricky's he reposted that and just wrote, awesome to see this.
And that's great. If that's his take on it, that's cool. Like, I have no qualms with his preference. And it depends. And I know we're Are they specifically testing just for THC?
I
or
have no
are they-
idea, and
are
I'm
they testing
not
for-
about to start guessing because there's so much of this world I'll admittedly say I just
Well, I don't
don't
know-
know about.
Yeah, I don't know about a lot.
I mean, not only the drugs, but even just like all of
You
the
know.
intricate details. And I think that's
Like-
part of the whole conversation here is there's a lot of people that do know plenty about all of the substances, but still don't know how to fully interpret this announcement. And I think that's where, generically speaking, we are largely sitting. And then, of course, this then segues into lots of other drugs and alcohol conversations and then a lot of other philosophies, all of which I'm just not personally interested in, like fighting any of the, no, I don't even want to say fighting, even discussing any of those battles. I understand, you know, alcohol and everything else all has their problems too, and I totally agree with that. And I understand all the benefits and can agree with plenty of the benefits on all these other situations. Just all of it, like I said, to me, may not amount to really anything here, which is why I'm not too worked up about it at the moment. As someone, where's the line drawn? Prescription drugs, over-the-counter painkillers, alcohol, caffeine, supplement. It's a slippery slope, and up for debate either way. Like, that was a random post, and I totally agree. And I understand there's a million very legitimate arguments to be had about it. So,
and I can 100% get behind the
purchasing my urine.
yes, purchasing
My
urine in a box. It doesn't ship well, but hey, soak it in. Wanting more headroom as far as the time. Like,
sure, of course.
I can totally get that. I totally understand that.
I can get on board with that.
I don't think, again, I'm not here to scream and yell that they shouldn't be doing this. I don't care if they do it. Our players shouldn't care if they do it. Ultimately, it would just be nice to know more ahead of time, and
Sure.
we'll do whatever. So,
all right, I think that now officially.
Can we get to our Patreon? Oh, I've one of the favorite things to do. Got a pre-announcement for an announcement.
No way.
Next week,
You're going to announce something special for a week after that.
I'm gonna announce. There'll be a little announcement next week for some fun things that are gonna give some people a chance to win some prizes. So be prepared. Be prepared. I'm working on contacting a bunch of different manufacturers for some prizes for some stuff. So if you know someone that would like to donate some prizes to a fun competition, reach out to me. If I haven't already reached out to you.
You could win a gallon of my urine.
Gallon? Good Lord. How long would that
Share it with your friends.
How long would that take you? You have a small bladder.
I know.
I know
I was
you
just
do.
thinking that, but
That would be a long time.
But not really, because I would just fill it up. I'd still fill it up quickly.
Yeah, I suppose it would just be lots of little trips to the bathroom. I hope.
I never thought we'd have so much pee talk in one episode, but here we are.
Me neither. I never put it out. I would never rule that out.
That's true.
I know what we're talking
Stuff
about.
does get off the rails, especially in the after show.
Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. That's where you can get. Tonight we're giving away jars of urine. No. Tonight we're going to give away this Evelina and Ezra Aderholt. I'm sorry, not Evelina. Still thinking
Cadence, I
Finnish.
think.
Cadence Burge and Ezra Aderhold signed piece of plastic. Pretty cool disc right here with Terry's little logo
a
on it.
Discmania Spore? What?
Yeah. And patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV if you would like to be
man.
eligible to give that. We have 103 people eligible for our giveaway tonight. Terry D. Miller.
Oh, that one's got swirls in it. I meant to hide that one from myself, but now I showed you guys it already.
Yeah. Okay. Let's give this away, Ter.
Fine, I don't want to, but I will.
Let's give it to me.
No.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to pick a number 2. Yeah.
2? I was going to say 2 first-time winners.
Yeah, 2 first-time winners.
So
all right. I sorted them by first name, just so everyone knows. First number is 7. That was maybe one of our
It's going to be higher.
Our second number is 7.
Holy shnikes.
Everybody saw it.
That's crazy.
All right, it's 7.
That's the first time ever that it's picked the same exact
no,
number.
it did it like last week or the week before.
No, we had a whole bunch of 60s a few weeks ago. It went like 63, then 64. And
No,
then down
I
to
swear to
60.
God, it was like 2 weeks ago. We
Oh.
hit the same number.
I don't know. What do
Not
I
for the
know?
winner, but it was like we did it. We were doing like 3 or 4 of them, and it was like the same.
All right.
one.
Well, this was
the winner's 7, but I want to hit generate again just to. It's
77. Wow, that's so freaky, man.
dude. All 7s. I'm going to the casino.
Oh man.
All right. The number was 7, not 77, but 7. It wanted to be 7, no matter what. Scroll up to the top.
Yeah.
7 is Anthony Furrow.
Heck
Anthony Furrow.
A long time.
Wow,
Very
yeah.
hefty supporter.
Thank
Holy
you,
cow.
Anthony Furrow. You're getting a special disc here. You're getting the double one-timer.
Yeah, you are. Carney, 77, your birth year. 78's cooler.
Who was 77? That would have
a
been
loser. No, I'm just kidding.
Ricky Flock. That would have been
Yep.
Ricky Flock,
Sorry,
but no,
Ricky.
sorry. It was
7,
7,
and it
7,
was
then
meant to be.
77. Yeah.
The
You
fact
can't
that I picked it twice.
picked it twice. Anthony Furrow. It's probably
All
like,
right.
it's probably like Forot, but we're gonna say Furrow. Congratulations! I will get your email over to Terry Miller. He will reach out to you. We have your address on, and we'll verify with that. And then Terry will send you this disc.
Yes, and I just shipped out last week's winner, the Evelina disc. And I think I have a few others to catch up on, but I know the Evelina autograph disc went out today. Dropped that one off myself and stuff. All right. That's a full show. That was almost 3.5, a little longer, but
That's like an old school show.
we cannot complain about the incredible content we had tonight. I don't know if you guys liked it, but I did.
We should probably take each of those interviews and cut them out.
Yeah.
You should do that.
Yeah, I don't want to, but I will.
I know
probably.
you will. That's because I told you to.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have done it anyway, but now I told you to do it. So
well, and I listen to whatever you say. That's how this
probably
works.
should.
Yeah.
Where
Anyway,
we'd be in Europe right now selling our urine if you listen to me.
that's true. Couldn't believe it was still on. Oh, because Earl, you were in and out and back and this and
Yeah, we just
you're here for it. We're here.
we just kept
We just keep talking.
keep
Somebody
talking.
listens eventually, or they just walk away and fall asleep.
But then they wake up and we're still talking. So we win.
What a nightmare. Did I fall asleep? Ah, no, they're still on. Thank you. Being out on course also led me to a number of very gracious compliments for our show and our work, and we very much do appreciate that. So, and I will repeat, I feel like I'm going to repeat this weekly now.
Please don't.
Anytime I'm out and it feels like I'm ignoring you, I literally don't hear you. A gentleman this weekend said to me, it's like, yeah, I saw you a few holes ago and I was talking to you, but you just kept walking. I'm like, I'm sorry. And it was somebody I knew, but I'm like, I literally didn't hear you. I only have one good ear. It has an earbud in, and Ian and Philo and Des are talking into that one good ear. So if you said hey or hello or Terry from a distance and I completely walked right by you like an a-hole, it's because I genuinely didn't hear you. So I can't imagine how many people that happens to on a weekly basis, and I feel terrible. So I'm going to keep telling you, I didn't hear you, and I genuinely mean that. So it was.
He
funny
responds better to
yeah, just grab.
grab a little tear, no matter where you are.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter where. You can grab him. You can grab him wherever.
now I feel bad. I don't remember who, but it was somebody I knew. And
I don't know. I ignored his
oh
name.
no. Well, also two weeks ago, Chris Hartman, who you and I both know.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I was at U.S. Women's. He said the same thing, and that's what makes me want to give this little reminder. He's like, I'm like, oh hey Hartman, and I said hi to him, and he's like, yeah, I said your name 3 times earlier today, and you just ignored me. I'm like, I swear to God, this is the first time I saw you in front of me and or heard, and
Sure.
I felt bad. It's somebody I knew, and that happened again this weekend with someone else. So
That's a great excuse to actually ignore somebody too.
I know.
God, I hope I don't run into them again. But if I do, I got an excuse.
No, I genuinely, I can't imagine how many people are like, oh, he's such an a-hole. He just ignored me as he walked by.
People think you're an a-hole for
I
other
know,
reasons.
that's true.
That's so low on the list.
Another,
you actually have to meet you in person to think you're an a-hole for that. Most people don't even meet you in person and still think you're an a-hole.
That's a good call. All
right,
but at least I have clean urine that I can sell. All right, we appreciate each and every one of you. And Carney, no, the super chat wasn't in there. Maybe we could work that in next time. But thank you to all the super chats and everyone else that jumped on. We really appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Thank you to Cadence, as well as Matt, who joined us in the regular show, and then all of you regular contributors in the chat. We love you guys interacting with us. It's one of the most fun parts of the show. So thanks for your additional input. Like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. Maybe download us on a podcast app somewhere or tell your friends
Give
about
us like 5 stars. Review our show. It helps for discovery.
Yeah, and 5, it would be good.
Assuming it's out of 5. If it's out of like 15 stars, I prefer more, but I'll take 5 still.
Yeah, I guess it's a start.
Yeah.
For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's 564. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.